Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible and visible? Good morning. Good afternoon. Sai Krishna, Apurva, Tanuja, Madhuri. Yeah, good afternoon, all of you. Anil. Yeah, good afternoon. Let some more people join in and then I'll begin. Sridhara. So, first of all, I would like to profusely apologize for the last weekend. The class had to be cancelled because I was not keeping well. My throat had given up. So now I'm better. We will try to make up as quickly as possible in a detailed manner, whatever you had missed last weekend. So I again apologize for that. So we will make up today onwards. So let's begin. Last Sunday, I had spoken about given in overview of ancient Indian history, entire ancient Indian history from Stone Age to the post-Gupta period. So I had told you or given an overview: Stone Age, Indus civilization, Vedic period, pre-Maurya period, then Maurya period, post-Maurya, Gupta, and post-Gupta periods. So today and tomorrow, I hope to finish with ancient India, and then we can start medieval India next weekend. So here I had finished with the Stone Age and Indus civilization last class, last Sunday. So today, let me begin afresh with Vedic period. I had begun with Vedic period, but I know that I could not complete this topic because of dearth of time. So I'll recap quickly till wherever we had done, and then we can proceed further. All of you, am I audible and visible? People have joined late. Zainab, Anil, Patarbinda, thank you, Anil. So all of you, can I continue? Can I start? Okay. So this is the third chapter, the Vedic period. Zainab, you're right. So here, why is it called Vedic period? It is called Vedic period because we rely entirely on Vedic literature for the reconstruction of the history of this period. We hardly have any archaeological sources for the study of this period. Entirely, we rely on Vedic literature. If you go back last weekend when I did Indus civilization, we rely entirely on archaeological sources for the study of the Harappans or the Indus people. Of course, we have some information about the Harappan civilization from the Mesopotamians because the Mesopotamian script has been deciphered. But then we only have some information from literary sources, particularly Mesopotamian records. We rely entirely on architectural sources for the study of the Harappans. Similarly, here with respect to Vedic period, we do not have much of archaeological sources for the study of this period, for the reconstruction of the history of this period. So we rely entirely on Vedic literature. Hence, it is called Vedic period. Now, who are the people who compose the Vedas? Who are supposedly the people who compose the Vedas? They are supposed to be the Aryans. Aryans were the ones who composed the Vedas. So obviously, the next question arises: who are the Aryans? Who are these Aryans? So we will talk about it. So Vedic period was from 1500 to 600 BCE, which we divide into two parts: early Vedic period or Rig Vedic period from 1500 to 1000 BC, and the later Vedic period from 1000 to 600 BC. Right? So we divide into two parts. So totally 1500 to 600 BC, which is divided to early Vedic period or Rig Vedic period and later Vedic period. Now, among historians, there was no unanimity earlier as regards the original homeland of the Aryans. Many of the historians believed that the Aryans came from outside India and many places have been named as the original homeland of the Aryans. For example, you look at this chart in front of you on your screen. So we have these various scholars, foreign origin theory of the origin of the Aryans. Penka. Penka says that they came from Germany. Max Muller said they came from Central Asia. Giles and MacDonald claimed Austro-Hungary region as the original homeland of the Aryans. Dayananda Saraswati said Tibet, and Bal Gangadhar Tilak said Arctic region. So these are the various scholars who said that Aryans came into India from outside India, from many foreign countries. Whereas another group of historians believed that the Aryans were locals. They never came from outside India, they were localites. And this is the indigenous origin theory of the Aryans. For example, AH2A Sampurnanand. They believed that they came from the Sapta Sindhu region, Indus, its 5 eastern tributaries, and Saraswati, totally 7 rivers. That is called Sapta Sindhu region. So that is the opinion of A.C. Das and Sampurnanand. D.S. Kala said Kashmir and Himalayas. Ganganathaja, Brahmarshi Desha, between the rivers Saraswati, Drishadvati, and D.S. Trivedi said Devika region. So you have no unanimity among scholars initially as regards the original homeland of the Aryans. But in course of time, most of the historians came to believe in the theory given by Max Muller. Max Muller, a German Indologist. Now, who's an Indologist? Indologist is somebody who takes care of or who takes interest in India's history, culture, literature, philosophy, etc. So that is, he's called an Indologist. So that person is called an Indologist. So Max Muller gave the Central Asian theory. That is, they came from Central Asia. So he said they came from Central Asia. Now the question obviously arises, why did they come? Why did the Aryans come? That is obviously the question which arises in everybody's mind. Now look at this map here on your screen. So this is this large area where the Aryans were supposedly living. So this is a theory, please understand. This is a theory. Many historians call this as rubbish, but most historians agree to this theory. Now, what is this theory? They came from Eurasia. This was the original homeland of the Aryans, Eurasia. This map which you see on your screen is supposedly Eurasia. That is from southern Russia to Central Asia. All those areas from southern Russia to Central Asia were called Eurasia, was called Eurasia. This was supposed to be the original homeland of the Aryans. Now, what were they doing here? Basically, they were pastoralists. Aryans were living in this area called Eurasia, that large area from southern Russia to Central Asia. They were pastoralists. That is, cows, animal husbandry. They were engaging in animal husbandry, or they were pastoralists. Cows and pastures were their main source of wealth. Pastures are grasslands, green grasslands. So cows and pastures were their main source of wealth. So basically, they were engaging in pastoralism or animal husbandry, right? And we are told that around 2000 BC, there was a global change in the weather. Already, the population of the Aryans had increased in this area. The population of their cattle had increased. And since there was a drastic change in the weather throughout, around 2000 BC throughout the world, there was a rapid depletion in the grasslands. So the grasslands, whatever were available in this area, rapidly depleted. Therefore, they could not feed the increasing population of their cattle. So the Aryans, along with their cattle, began to migrate to different parts of the earth. So along with their cattle, they migrated to different parts of the earth. One branch went towards Europe. Okay, all the way to Europe. You can see this arrow mark here, these arrow marks. They came to Europe up to Ireland in Europe. Another branch went towards West Asia. Another branch went towards West Asia. That is the Fertile Crescent consisting of Palestine, Israel, Iraq, that area. So along with their cattle, another branch went towards West Asia. And another branch of the Aryans came towards India. While coming towards India, they stopped over in Iran for some time, as you can see on your screen. So on the way, they stopped over in Iran for some time. Then they lived in Iran for some time. Then they entered Afghanistan from Iran. and lived in Afghanistan for some time. And from Afghanistan, they entered India. So this is the route taken by the Aryans. So I repeat here on your screen. So this was the original homeland of the Aryans called Eurasia. But generally, it is believed that Central Asia was the nucleus of Eurasia. Central Asia was the nucleus of this huge area called Eurasia. So Max Muller said they mostly came from Central Asia, and most of the historians believe in this theory. So along with their cattle, they began to migrate to different parts of the earth. Okay, one branch went to Europe, another branch went to West Asia, and another branch came towards India. Another branch came towards India. While coming towards India, they stopped in Iran for some time, then Afghanistan. They lived in Afghanistan for some time, and then they entered India. Now, this is the theory. Are you clear till here? We will let us understand how historians have tried to substantiate this theory by giving certain arguments. Can you raise your hands? Everything is clear till here? Can I move on? This is just to understand the topic. Okay, thank you. Okay, now how do we say that the Aryans took this route? How do we say that the Aryans took this route? They stayed from Central Asia, they stayed in Iran for some time, and then from Iran they entered Afghanistan and stayed in Afghanistan for some time, and then they came into India. Now you see, the Aryans were nature worshippers. They used to worship nature, unlike the Harappans. You remember Harappans used to worship Pashupati Mahadeva, Mother Goddess, female and male sexual organs, trees like people trees, snake cult, fire. So they used to worship a number of gods, the Harappans. Whereas the Aryans were nature worshippers. They were not able to understand why there is a sun in the sky, a moon in the sky, the earth, thunder, lightning, rain, etc., for wind. So these natural forces, they were not able to understand why they are occurring. So what they did is they gave names to these natural forces. Surya, Prithvi, Akasha, Vayu, Varuna, Indra, Nasatyas, etc. So these are the various names which they gave to these natural phenomena. And the Aryans composed shlokas, hymns in praise of these gods, and they began to worship them. So basically, they were nature worshippers. Now, Max Muller tells us that the Rig Veda was composed by Aryans in India. The Rig Veda was composed by Aryans in India. So Aryans came from Central Asia and they composed the Rig Veda here in India. But then, please understand, just as the Rig Veda mentions the names of these gods worshipped by the Aryans, Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Nasatyas, etc., we have the oldest textbook of Iran, the oldest book of Iran, Zend Avesta. Zend Avesta. This book, the oldest text of Iran, also makes a reference to these gods worshipped by the Aryans, which are mentioned in the Rig Veda. So Rig Veda mentions obviously all these gods because Rig Veda was composed here in India. But then how come the Zen Avesta is familiar with the names of these gods worshipped by the Aryans like Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Nasatyas? So the argument put forth by some historians is that obviously the Aryans must have stayed in Iran for some time, and that is the reason why the Aryans were familiar with the names of these gods. That's why the Zen Avesta mentions it. So this is how they substantiate this theory. So this is one part. Then I told you that the Aryans from Iran entered Afghanistan and they stayed in Afghanistan for some time. Now, how is this theory supported or substantiated? Let us talk about that. So here you can see we have the eastern and the western tributaries of the Indus. You please understand the eastern and the western tributaries of the Indus. What are the western tributaries of the Indus on your screen? So the Indus River has two tributaries, western tributaries and eastern tributaries. Western tributaries flow in Afghanistan. They flow in present day Afghanistan, whereas the eastern tributaries flow in India and Pakistan. Now, what are the western tributaries of the Indus which flow in Afghanistan? On your screen, Gomal, Gomati, Kubha, Kabul River, Suvastu, Swat, Krumu, Khurram. These are the western tributaries of the Indus which flow in Afghanistan. And what are the eastern tributaries of the Indus which flow in India and Pakistan, which are mentioned in the Rig Veda. You can see on your screen, these are the eastern tributaries of the Indus. Jhelum, Vitasta, Asikini, Chanab, Asikini, Ravi, Parushni, Bias, Vipasa, Satudri, Satlaj, Satudri. Now, the Rig Veda was composed here in India by the Aryans, according to Max Muller. So obviously, the Rig Veda would be familiar with the eastern tributaries of the Indus, which flow in India and Pakistan. And that is the reason why the Rig Veda is mentioning the names of these eastern tributaries of the Indus. But the question is, how come the Rig Veda is able to mention the western tributaries of the Indus, which flow in Afghanistan? How does it mention Kubha, Suvastu, Krumo, like that? Unless the Aryans had stayed in Afghanistan for some time. So this is the theory. So they obviously must have stayed in Afghanistan for some time, and that's why they were familiar even with the western tributaries of the Indus. Okay, so that's how they substantiate this theory. Now, even philology, what is philology? Comparative study of languages. Even philology supports this theory. So you can see on your screen, there was an Italian philologist. So by name, Filippo Sassetti, on your screen, Filippo Sassetti. He was a Italian philologist. He knew this. What is philology? Study of comparative languages. Philology is the study of comparative languages. So he knew the principal languages of the earth. He knew the main languages of the earth like Sanskrit, Persian, Latin, German, English, etc. So since he knew all these languages in detail, Filippo Sassetti, this Italian philologist, was surprised and shocked at the same time to notice that there were some words in all these languages like Greek, Latin, Gothic, that is Germanic language, Celtic, and Persian. That there were some words in all these languages whose meanings are the same and they rhyme with each other. They sound similar and their meanings are the same. So, for example, on your screen, if you see, we call mother as mother in English, whereas in Sanskrit, mother is called matra or matru, right? So, English mother, Sanskrit matr or matru. Persian and Latin, it is called mater, I believe. Then German, it is called mutter, and Greek, it is called meter. So these words sound similar, and they all refer to the persona of mother. So, like this, he gives many examples, Filippo Sassetti. And then Filippo Sassetti came to the conclusion that all these languages, English, Sanskrit, Persian, Latin, German, etc., they all have originated from one mother language. They have originated from one mother language. That mother language was called Indo-European by William Jones. So you can see here, Sir William Jones called that mother language as Indo-European. Max Muller called that mother language as Aryan. And Penka gave a racial connotation to the word Aryan, stating that people who speak these languages, they look similar. That is, they are tall, they are fair, they have a blonde hair, radiant complexion, sharp features, etc. But the word Aryan only refers to language and people who speak a group of languages. It has no racial connotation. I clear till here. So William Jones called this mother language as Indo-European. Max Muller called this mother language as Aryan. Penka gave a racial connotation to the word Aryan, stating that people who speak these languages like English, Sanskrit, Persian, Latin, German, etc., look similar. But the word Aryan means language and people who speak a group of languages, just as the word Dravidian refers to people who speak a group of languages like Tamil, Kannada, Telugu, and Malayalam, which are Dravidian languages. It has definitely no racial connotation, the word Aryan or the word Dravidian. Now, how do we again substantiate this? On your screen, if you see, we know that the Aryans are living here. They were living in this large area called Eurasia, and they began to migrate to different parts of the earth when there was a drastic change in the weather and when there was a shortage of pastures. So, Once they began to migrate from Central Asia to the other parts of the world along with their cattle, they also took that language along with them, which they were speaking originally in Central Asia. So, whatever language they were speaking here in this area, they took that language also along with them, along with their cattle, right? And but then, wherever they went, already there were some people living there speaking a group of languages. Already there were some people living in Europe, in West Asia, even in here in India, who were speaking other languages. So this mother language, which was spoken by the Aryans, got mixed up with the local languages of those areas. And over a period of time, that mother language of the Aryans was lost. But then some words which are common, which are familiarly used, which are regularly used on a daily basis, like mother, father, etc., have remained in all these languages, and that's how the meanings of some of these words in all these languages are the same. They also rhyme with each other. So this is the theory. Are you there with me, all of you? Can you please raise your hand? This is the theory. Can I continue? No, just keep this in the background. Just keep this in the mind, as regards the, this theory. Just keep that in mind. They'll not ask you the theory in the exam, definitely. Now, when the Aryans came to India, when the Aryans came into India, they came to Iran, isn't it? They came to Iran, then they stayed in Afghanistan for some time, and via the northwest, they entered India. They entered India. So when they entered India, they saw a huge river. They saw a huge river, the size of which they had never seen earlier. So, in the path of their migration, they had never encountered such a huge river. So, the Aryans, I believe, called this river as Sindhu. They called this river as Sindhu. Sindhu means huge sheet of water, a huge sheet of water. Now, let us try to understand how the word India has come about, how the name India has come about. We call our country as India. So, how has the name India come about? So, the Aryans encountered a huge river and they named that river as Sindhu. Later in our history, this area where the river Sindhu flows was conquered by the Persians, Persians or Iranians. In the year 516 BC, the Persians or Iranians conquered this area where the river Sindhu flows. And the Persians had a problem in pronouncing the letter S. So they had a problem in pronouncing the letter S. So when they tried to say Sindhu, from their mouth came out Hindu. So this river became Hindu for the Persians. People who were living on the banks of this river, Hindu, became Hindus. And the land where the river Hindu flows became Hindustan for the Persians. So the river was called Hindu. The people living on the banks of that river were called Hindus. And the land where the river flows came to be called Hindustan. Then we are told what happened is in our history, we have the Greeks coming. Greeks, Alexander and the Greeks in 326 BC, Alexander comes into India. And the Greeks in their language called this river as Indus. They called this river as Indus. Later in our history, we have the Arabs coming and conquering Sindh in 712 AD. When we do medieval India, we'll talk about the Arab conquest of Sindh. The Arabs also had a similar problem in pronouncing the letter Sa. So when they tried to say Sindhu, from their mouth came out Hindu. Right? So the river again came to be called Hindu and among the Arabs. And ultimately, this country, under the British called this country India, after the river Indus. So from the river Indus has come about the name India. So the British called this country as India, whereas in the Rig Veda, this country is called Bharatavarsha. Bharatavarsha, which is part of a group of 7 concentric islands called Jambudvipa. So I believe it is part of this group of islands called Jambudvipa. Dvipa is an island. So Bharatavarsha is part of Jambudvipa. So this is what is told in the Rig Veda. Right? Now we'll come back. So did you understand? So Aryans called this river as Sindhu. Aryans called this river as Sindhu. Then the Persians called this river as Hindu. The Greeks called it as Indus. The Arabs called it as Hindu. And the British called this country as India after the river Indus. Clear till here? Can I move on? Clear till here? Now, in the Rig Veda, India is referred to as, in the Vedas, this country is called Bharatavarsha. Yes, in the Vedas, Kola, yeah. In the Vedas, this country is called Bharatavarsha, not India. India was the name given by the British. Now, are you clear? Are you there with me? All of you? Now, let us come to the topic proper. This is the background I have given you just now. Now, when the Aryans came into India, on your screen, when the Aryans came into India, they saw this huge river. They called this river as Sindhu. Next to Sindhu, you have the river Satluj or Satudri flowing. Then we have the Yamuna and then the Ganga. So Sindhu, Satluj, Yamuna, Ganga. Now, the Aryans, for the first 500 years, once they entered India through the northwest, for the first 500 years, they lived in this area, which came to be called Sapta Sindhu region. They called this region as Sapta Sindhu region, the land of 7 rivers. Land of 7 rivers. According to Max Muller, which are these 7 rivers? Of course, we have the Sindhu river. We have the Sindhu. Its 5 eastern tributaries, that is Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, and the Satluj. So these are the modern names of these eastern tributaries of the Sindhu. Jhelum is called Vitastha. Chenab is Asikini. Ravi is Parushni. Bias is Vipasa. And Satluj is Sutudri or Shutudri. And of course, Saraswati. So they lived on the banks of these 7 rivers. This is called Sapta Sindhu region, according to Max Muller. And only one book. What are the 7 rivers? Sindhu, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, Satluj, and Saraswati. Totally 7 rivers. Right? Now, for the first 500 years, when they entered India, they lived in this Sapta Sindhu region, which is the region between the Satluj in the west. You can see here, the Satluj is in the west and Yamuna is in the east. So they lived between the Satluj and the Yamuna in this so-called Sapta Sindhu region. And only one book gives information about the first 500 years of the life of the Aryans. That is the Rig Veda. And hence this period is also called Rig Vedic period. And the Aryans are also called Rig Vedic Aryans or early Vedic Aryans. So on your screen, only the Rig Veda gives information, hence called Rig Vedic period, right? Or early Vedic period. So from the Rig Veda, what do we know about the geographical knowledge of the Rig Vedic Aryans? So what does the Rig Veda tell us about the knowledge, about the geography of the Rig Vedic Aryans or the early Vedic Aryans once they came into the country? So wherever a name of a place is mentioned in the Rig Veda, it means that the Aryans were familiar with that place. That's why it is mentioned in the Rig Veda. Wherever a place is not mentioned, the name of a place is not mentioned, that means they were not familiar with that place, and therefore the Rig Veda doesn't mention about that place. Right? Then what was the political arrangement of the Aryans? What was their political structure like? How was the society? How was the economy? And what were the religious practices? So all these things we get to know only from one book, that is the Rig Veda, hence called Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period. Right? So you can see on your screen, a map is there. So you see Aryans are entering like this via from Afghanistan. So Central Asia, Iran, Afghanistan, and then they entered India. And they lived from between the Satluj in the west and Yamuna in the east. Satluj in the Sutudri. You can see here Satluj and Yamuna, this river. Satluj in the west, and Yamuna in the east. This area came to be called the land of seven rivers, the Sapta Sindhu region. So they lived in this area for how many years? For 500 years. And therefore, this period is called early Vedic period or Rig Vedic period. Yeah, about four Vedas, we'll talk about it. When I come to Vedic literature, Puja, in detail, we'll talk about Vedic literature. As of now, we are only doing the conventional history. Vedic literature will be discussed as part of literature topic when we come to art and culture. So you just hold on. So let us talk about the geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans, right? So you can see on your screen the Rig Vedic Aryans or the early Aryans never went beyond the Yamuna in the east. They were confined to the Satluj in the west and Yamuna in the east, and that region is called Sapta Sindhu region. So we have the Vedas, the Rig Veda mentioning the Nadi Stuti. Nadi Stuti are the eastern and the western tributaries of the Indus. So what are the western tributaries of the Indus? We have already discussed this. Gomal, Gomti. So remember these equivalent names because UPSC has asked questions from here. So Gomal, Gomti, Kubha, Kabul River, Suvastu, Swat River, Krumu, Khurram River. These are all the western tributaries which flow in Afghanistan. They flow in Afghanistan. These are the western tributaries which flow in Afghanistan. Now, what are the eastern tributaries which flow in India? These are the eastern tributaries which flow in India and Pakistan. Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bia, Satluj. Vitasta, Asikini, Parushni, Vipasa, Satluj, right? So obviously, the Sindhu River is mentioned in the Rig Veda along with its western and eastern tributaries. The Rig Veda mentions the Himalayas. So there's reference to the Himalayas in the Rig Vedas and also some of its peaks. So it gives the names of some of its peaks like Mujavant, Silament, Archika. So Aryans were familiar with the Himalayas. There's a word called Samudra in the Rig Veda. You can see here Samudra. Now, Samudra suggest an ocean or a sea, but then please understand here, Samudra meant only a confluence of rivers, a meeting point of rivers, a sangam of rivers, where when two or more rivers join together at that point, that point is called sangam. So here it referred to that, a confluence of rivers or a sangama of rivers, not ocean. So the word Samudra referred to a confluence of rivers and not an ocean. So that means to say that the Aryans had not seen the three oceans around India, the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, and the Indian Ocean. They were mostly confined to the Sapta Sindhu region. There's only one reference to the Ganga. That means not many people were familiar with the Ganga, though they knew about the Ganga. They were familiar with the Himalayas. They were familiar with the eastern and the western tributaries of the Sindhu or the Indus. And of course, they were not familiar with the Thar Desert, the desert in Rajasthan. This is a geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans. Are you there with me? Clear? This is the geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans mentioned in the Rig Veda. Can you please raise your hands? Can I move on? Okay. Now, let's talk about the polity, the polity of the Aryans, the Rig Vedic Aryans. How was their political arrangement like? On your screen. So here we'll talk about the polity, Rig Vedic polity. Rig Vedic polity. What was the polity like? Now, the Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. So the Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. So Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. Every tribe was headed by a leader. And generally, he was an experienced man. So he was an experienced man, not necessarily an old man, an experienced man. Maybe a middle-aged man with a lot of experience. So he was elected. This tribal chief was elected. His name was, his designation was Rajan. Rajan. So he was an elected leader of the tribe. So what we see, elections used to take place, and the members of the tribe used to elect their leader or Rajan. So we see democratic elements in a tribal polity. Democratic elements in a tribal polity. Now, what was the duty of the Rajan? What was the Rajan's duty? The duty was to protect the tribe. His duty was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth. Protect the cattle wealth of the tribe. And what did he do? He prayed to gods. He prayed to gods for three things. One is Praja, mainly sons. That is, if children are born, let more sons be born, not daughters. So he prayed to gods for Praja, mainly sons, Pashu, cattle, and Dhana, wealth. So Praja, Pashu, Dhana. He prayed to gods on behalf of the tribe to bestow upon the tribe Praja, Pashu, Dhana. Praja, mainly sons. If children are born, let more sons be born. Now, what is the main reason for this? What do you think? Why did he pray to gods for more sons, not daughters? Have I covered this last Sunday? Not last to last Sunday? This part? Polity? I don't think so. Have I? Warring tribes. Okay. You're right, Nikhil. You, okay, fight other tribes. Charan, wait, hold on. I'll answer your question. Just hold on. Let this chapter get over. Vedic period, then you will yourself know the answer. Now, no, not hereditary transfer. We'll come to that. So here, the Rajan prayed for sons and not daughters because you please understand what was the main occupation of the Aryans during this period. What was their main occupation? Can you answer that? Pastoralism, isn't it? Cattle, yeah, animal husbandry, pastoralism. So that was their profession when they were staying in Central Asia, in Eurasia or Central Asia, and they continue to do the same profession even in the Sapta Sindhu region, right? So they continue to engage in animal husbandry, pastoralism, even in the Sapta Sindhu region. Now, please understand. Uh, and they were nomadic by nature. They were nomads. So going from one place to another place, in case the grasslands in a particular place is getting depleted, and they'll come to know about it, that the grass will not sustain beyond a particular point. So they will abandon that area and they'll go to another area in search of grasslands where their cattle can be fed adequately and they can survive themselves. So they were nomadic by nature. So when they are going away from one place to another place, let us say from point A to a point B, a familiar place called A with a not so familiar place called B. On the way, they may be attacked by rival tribes, other tribes who might want to steal their cattle, steal their women, harm their children, etc. So, if there are more males in the tribe, they will be in a better position to defend themselves. That is the reason why the Rajan prayed to gods on behalf of the tribe to bestow more sons, more children who are sons, not daughters. Now, unfortunately, this aspect has got distorted down the generations, down the centuries, where there is a desire for having sons as heir to the family, and not daughters. So that has got distorted. So that is the reason why in places like Haryana, in states like Haryana, we have a skewed sex ratio. More number of males are there, very less females are there. Female infanticide used to take place. Even now, government has banned it. So here and there, we hear of stray instances of female infanticide even nowadays. So all these happened, because of distortion of history. Here, the Aryans used to pray for sons for a totally different reason. Okay, now we'll come back here. So he prayed to gods for Praja, Pashudhana. What was the main source of income for the Rajan? His main source of income was voluntary offering called Bali, voluntary offerings called Bali, and war booty, voluntary offering called Bali and war booty. That was the main source of income for the Rajan, right? That was the main source of income for the Rajan. Now, the bureaucracy was very simple during this period. The bureaucracy was very simple. The Rajan was assisted by a few officers. So who are the officers who assisted the Rajan? For example, you have a Purohita, the priest, the Senapati, commander, Vrajapati, in charge of pasture lands, Spasa, spy, Duta, messenger, Ugra or Jivagriba, police official who looked after law and order. So these were some of the officials who assisted the Rajan in the discharge of his duties. Okay. So bureaucracy was very simple during this period. So you can see on your screen. So these are the officers. You can see on your screen, Purohita, priest, Senapati, commander, Vrajapati, in charge of pasture lands, Gramani, head of a grama, Purapati, in charge of forts, mud forts basically, Jivagriba or Ugra, police official, Spasa was a spy, Duta was a messenger. So these are some of the people who assisted the Rajan in the discharge of his duties. There were 4 assemblies which curtailed the powers of the Rajan. 4 assemblies which curtailed the powers of the Rajan. The Rajan could not do whatever he wanted. So what are these 4 assemblies I'm talking about? Number 1, Sabha. Sabha. Number 2, Samiti. Number 3, Vidhata. Vidhata. And number 4, Gana. So what was this Sabha? It was a council of tribal elders. It was a council of tribal elders. All the elderly people, experienced people in the tribe were automatically members of the Sabha. Okay. War booty, I'm coming. War booty is when one tribe will go to war against another tribe, they will plunder and loot the other tribe. Let us say they defeat the other tribe. A goes to war with B, okay, and the B tribe is defeated. So they loot and plunder everything from B and bring it back, bring it to A, okay, bring it to their place. That's called war booty. Hemalata, are you clear? Hemalata? Okay. So let us talk about the 4 assemblies. Sabha, which was a council of tribal elders. Now, what was the duty of the Sabha? Now, whenever a problem arose before the tribe, a common problem, let us say there's a water shortage, there's some disease, people are dying in the tribe, or another tribe is planning an attack on this tribe. So the Sabha will call for a meeting. All the members of the Sabha will meet in a meeting, including the Rajan, and they will put forth the problem before everybody. And they will discuss about this problem, how to solve this problem. And each member of the Sabha can give his opinion, his or her opinion, as to how to solve the problems. That means women were given special representation in the Sabha. So women could also participate in the deliberations of the Sabha. Now, whatever decision was taken by the Sabha was binding on all the members of the tribe. And that is called Narishta. Narishta, resolution of many which cannot be overruled. Resolution or decision of many which cannot be overruled. That is called Narishta, resolution of many which cannot be overruled. So Sabha took a majority decision which was binding on every member of the tribe. And that is called Narishta. That majority decision is called Narishta. The Rajan might have had a different opinion compared to other members of the tribe. But since majority of the members of the Sabha have decided that we will follow this method to solve the problem, this solution to solve the problem, even the Rajan is bound by that. So that is called Sabha. Okay, that is called Narishta, resolution of many which cannot be overruled. Second assembly was the Samiti. What was the Samiti? It was the general assembly of the tribe. General assembly of the tribe. All the members of the tribe were automatically members of the Samiti. All the members of the tribe were automatically members of the Samiti. What was the duty of the Samiti? To elect the Rajan. Elect the Rajan. So 1 year it will elect A, another year it might elect B, another year C, another year D, another year A again. So it's all up to the Samiti to decide who is to be their Rajan. The third important assembly is the Vidata. It is the oldest of the 4 assemblies. Oldest of the 4 assemblies was the Vidata. What was the main duty of the Vidata? Redistribution of war booty. Redistribution of War booty. Vedic time, there is democracy. Shilpa, see, that we have democratic elements definitely existing from the Vedic period onwards. Um, I told you uh, um, tribal chief, the Rajan was elected. So that is a democratic element, isn't it? Here, everybody's opinion was elicited, and only whatever benefited the tribe, that majority decision was binding upon the entire tribe. So that is again, the council, the opinion of all the members of the tribe, all the members of the Sabha was taken into consideration, and then in the interest of everybody, a decision was taken. So we see traces of democratic elements here in this type of a political arrangement of theirs. Women were also given special representation in the Sabha, so that again shows that they had held a good position, important position in the society, right? So these are all democratic traces of democratic elements. So Vidata was the oldest of the tribal assemblies, and the main duty of the Vidata was redistribution of war booty, and women were also given special representation in the Vidata. Right? So women were given special representation in the Sabha as well as the Vidata. And the last assembly was the Gana. Gana. It was more of a cultural assembly, organizing feast, festival, dance, etc. So this was the Gana, which was more of a cultural assembly. So these are the four assemblies which curtailed the powers of the Rajan. Sabha, Samiti, Vidata, Gana. The Rajan could not do whatever he wanted. His powers were controlled by these four assemblies. Are you there with me? Can I move on? All clear till here? Yes. Okay. Good. So let's move on. Explain 3. Vidata. Vidata Jia. Charan says, Samiti had no females. Jia. Samiti had no females. Only Sabha and Vidata had female members as representatives, not any other. So Sabhata and Vidata had women. Explain 3. Vidata is the oldest of the 3 assemblies, Charan. The main duty of the Vidata was redistribution of war booty. So one tribe will go to war against another tribe, and let's say the other tribe is defeated, they'll plunder and loot everything and bring from the other tribe, and that is redistributed equally amongst the members of the tribe. That is the duty of the Vidata, and women were given also representation in the Vidata. Right now, the Aryans fought amongst themselves. And they also fought against non-Aryans. So understand this. So I told you, the Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. So which are the most important tribes during the Rig Vedic period? The Aryan tribes. Important Aryan tribes. We have the Bharata tribe, the Bharata tribe, and the Puru tribe. Bharatas and Puru. These tribes were always fighting against each other. These are the two important Aryan tribes during the Rig Vedic period. Bharatas and Purus, always fighting against each other. So the Aryans fought amongst themselves, and they also fought against non-Aryans. So obviously, who are the non-Aryans? Non-Aryan tribes. Which are the non-Aryan tribes? We have Dasyu, Dasa, and Pani. Now, who are Dasyus? Dasyus were the original inhabitants. Supposedly, the original inhabitants of the Sapta Sindhu region. You see, when the Aryans came into India, they stayed in the Sapta Sindhu region initially for 500 years. But there were already some people who were living there. These might have been the remnants of the Harappans. Harappans had abandoned that area and gone away 500 years back. But then some Harappans might have been still living there. So that's why I said remnants. They might have been remnants of the Harappans. So, and they look different from the Aryans, these people, the Dasyus. So how were they looking different? They were dark skinned. Okay, they were dark skinned, then snub nose, that is flat nose. Then they were phallus worshippers, worshipping the phallus, male sexual organ. And the Aryans, so we have some words in the Rig Veda, Sanskrit words like dark skinned, Krishna Twach. Krishna means dark skinned, Krishna Twach. Snub nose, Anasa, flat nosed. So the Dasyus were short in stature, dark in color, snub-nosed, and they were phallus worshippers. And the Aryans, who were very, very proud of their color. Aryans were tall, they were fair, blonde hair, radiant complexion, etc., and nature worshippers. These Aryans were very proud of their color, and they began to look down upon the Dasyus because of their color. The Dasyus were dark-skinned, so they were looked down upon by the Aryans, who were fair-skinned. This is another legacy left behind by the Aryans. If you agree with me, or I don't know how many of you agree with me, we Indians have a fascination for fair skin. Look at our advertisements, matrimonial columns. You look at the Sunday newspaper, matrimonial columns, wanted thin, slim, fair girl. Okay, look at it, you'll know, you'll be amused. Then fair and lovely, that ad, that cream which if you put that cream, you'll become fair. So that type of ads, advertisements. Look at our films, hero and heroines, they are shown fair, right? And if there is a villain, he has to be looking ugly and dark, right? So if there's a hero who's dark, he'll be made anti-hero. If there's a very good-looking girl, with very good features, but she doesn't have the color, she may be made the heroine's friend. She will not be the main cast as heroine. She'll be made the heroine's friend. So like that, even our serials. Of course, I don't watch serials, but I'm telling you, there's a fascination for fair skin. Do you agree with me? Even women, when they get pregnant, they take that what is it called? Um, there's a herb, I think, which is available in Kashmir. So if you take that, haldi, not haldi, that's another one, I forget the name. If you take that, I believe the baby is born fair. So even my wife took it for that matter. Kesar, yeah, Kesar, Hemlata, thank you, saffron. So this is the type of belief systems we have, even though it is existing, right? So this is how it is. So this is a legacy left behind by the Aryans. Are you there with me? Do you agree with me? This fascination for fair skin which we have. Okay, okay, how beautiful she is, so fair looking. We somewhere, we are racist. Most of us are racist. Whether that's my personal belief. So there's a fascination for fair skin. This is a legacy left behind by the Aryans, right? So they looked down upon the Dasyus. Because they were dark skinned, phallus worshippers, etc. These are the Dasyus, original inhabitants of the Sapta Sindhu region. Then the Aryans fought against the Dasyus. Now, who are the Dasas? These are supposed to be the earlier branch of Aryans. Dasas are earlier branch of Aryans. Earlier branch of Aryans. So, for example, what is the meaning of this? You see here, let's say this is the Sapta Sindhu region. This is a Sapta Sindhu region, and some Aryans were living here. So some Aryans were already living here in this area, right? They were living here. Let us say, about 700 of them are living here. Now, these 700 of them see a fresh batch of Aryans approaching the Sapta Sindhu region. About, let us say, 200 people are coming along with their women and children to stay in the Sapta Sindhu region. So these people will object. Why these, and they'll fight against these new arrivals because they have to share the limited resources of the Sapta Sindhu region. So Dasas are the earlier branch of Aryans. Okay. So the Aryans fought amongst themselves. For example, Bharatas versus Purus. They also fought against non-Aryans like the Sioux, that is the original inhabitants of the Sapta Sindhu region. Dasas, earlier branch of Aryans, and Panis. Panis were supposedly They were supposedly non-Aryan. They were non-Aryan, non non-Aryan, and cattle lifters. Cattle lifters. They were robbing cattle, I believe. They used to rob cattle lifters. So this is so the Aryans fought amongst themselves and also fought against the Dasyus, Dasas, Panis. Now we have a battle which is mentioned in the Rig Veda, Mandala 7 of the Rig Veda. Mandala 7 of the Rig Veda mentions about a battle called Dasaragnya. Dasaragnya, the battle of 10 kings. Battle of 10 kings, Dasaragnya. Right? This is mentioned in Mandala. Mandala means book. Mandala means book. Book 7 of the Rig Veda. Book 7 of Rig Veda. Now, what does this battle tell us about? What does this book tell us about? Book 7 of the Rig Veda tell us about this battle. So there was a tribe called Bharata tribe. And this Bharata tribe had a Rajan, a chief called Sudas. So Sudas was the chief of the Bharata tribe. And Sudas had a Purohit, has his religious preceptor, religious guru. Now, who was the guru or religious preceptor of Sudas? A person called Sage Vishwamitra. Sage Vishwamitra was his religious guru, preceptor. Now we are told that Sudas came to know about a more qualified sage in the form of Vashishta. So there was another sage called Vashishta, and he was more qualified than Vishwamitra. Something like Vishwamitra was MBBS and Vashishta is MD and MRCP. So what Sudas did is he dismissed Vishwamitra and he appointed Vashishta as his guru or as his religious teacher. This angered Vishwamitra. So what Vishwamitra, because he became unemployed now, so Vishwamitra, he is supposed to have gone to 10 kings and filled up their ears against Sudas. So he went to 10 kings, filled up their ears against Sudas, and he brought all these 10 kings together. So we have a confederation of 10 kings. So confederation of 10 kings. And these 10 kings were led by Purukutsa of the Puru tribe. So Purukutsa, one of the 10 kings who belonged to the Puru tribe, was made the head of this particular confederation. And this confederation of 10 kings fought against Sudas. This is called Battle of 10 Kings. So Bharata tribe was led by Sudas. And the confederation of the 10 kings were led by Purukutsa of the Puru tribe. Are you there with me? This particular battle was fought on the banks of the river Ravi. So it was fought on the banks of the river Ravi or Purushni. What was the end result in this battle? It was Sudas who defeated all the 10 kings. All the 10 kings were defeated by Sudas. He was victorious. So what are the reasons for the battle of 10 kings? Number one, immediate reason is the dismissal of Vishwamitra and the appointment of Vashishta. Dismissal of Vishwamitra, appointment of Vashishta. That is the first reason. Second reason is sharing of the waters of the river Ravi. Sharing of the waters of the river Ravi between these tribes. And thirdly, cattle. These are the three main reasons for the battle of 10 kings. This is your Rig Vedic polity. Are you clear? This is your Rig Vedic polity. All of you, can you raise your hands? Any doubts? Okay, you can call it that, Nikhil. Nikhil says Sudas can the Israel of India to defeat multiple enemies. I would not say anything. That is Nikhil's opinion. So, Jia, clear? All of you are clear? Can I move on? So, this is Rig Vedic polity. Now, let us come to Rig Vedic society. So, here you can see here on your screen, Rig Vedic polity. Administration was tribal in nature. It was a tribal polity based on democratic principles. Every tribe was headed by a Rajan or a chief who was elected. He was elected. His duty was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth. He waged wars to protect the cattle. He prayed to go to gods for dhana, that is wealth, praja, mainly sons, and pashu, cattle. He took steps to improve pasture lands. Bureaucracy was very simple during this period. So Purohita, Senapati, Vrajapati, etc. assisted the Rajan in the discharge of his duties. There was no existence of a taxation system. The main source of income for a king was bali, voluntary offering, and war booty. Right? Then we have, of course, yeah. So this part I forgot to mention. Yeah, now look here. So here, tribe. So the family was the basis of the political organization. On your screen, family. Yeah. So family was the basis of the political organization called kula or griha. So kula or griha. So this was the family. It was the basis of the political organization headed by the kulapati. Kulapati, also called grihapati. Grihapati. A group of kulas will form a gram, a village, grama. Okay, so kula, a group of kulas will form a grama. So we'll take a arrow mark like this, going up like this, right? So a group of kulas will form a grama under a gramani. So you have a gramani there, gramani. A group of gramas will form a vis under a vispati. And a group of vis will form a jana or a tribe under a rajan, under the rajan. So rajan was the head of the tribe. So kulapati or grihapati. So he was the father, was the head of the house. A group of kulas or families will form a village or a grama under gramani. A group of gram will form a vis, okay, under a vispati, a group of villages. And then you have a tribe under the rajan. Are you clear? Sudas was the head of the Bharata tribe, Puja. He was head of the Bharata tribe. Sudas was head of the Bharata tribe. Whereas the head of the confederation of 10 kings was Purukutsa of the Puru tribe. Right? So I think I should have put this in bracket. Just hold on. Purukutsa of the Puru tribe. Right? So Purukutsa was the leader of the Puru tribe. Clear, all of you? So this is the later Vedic, so Rig Vedic polity. Then, of course, we saw there were 4 assemblies to curtail the powers of the Rajan. Sabha was one. The special representation was given to women. It was a council of tribal elders. It took a majority decision called Narishta. Narishta. Then Samiti. Samiti was the general assembly of the tribe whose main duty was to elect the Rajan. We have seen that. Then Vidhata was the oldest of the assemblies. Special representation was given to women. Main duty was redistribution of war booty. And then Gana was more of a religious and cultural assembly, organizing feasts, drinking, dancing, etc. Right? So the Aryans were divided into a number of tribes. One was the Bharata, the most powerful, and the Puru. And they were always fighting against each other. Right? And they dominated the region of Haryana and Western UP. So Aryans came from northwest and they were confined to the Sapta Sindhu region. And so they were these 2 tribes, the Bharata and Puru tribe, were confined to Haryana and Western UP region. Then the Aryans also fought against non-Aryans like Dasyus, original inhabitants, Dasas, earlier branch of Aryans, and Panis, who were supposedly non-Aryan and cattle lifters. Then the most important battle mentioned in the Rig Veda is the Dasaragnya, Battle of 10 Kings, mentioned in Mandala 7 of the Rig Veda, Book 7, fought between Bharata tribe chief Sudas and a group of 10 kings under their leader Purukutsa of the Puru tribe fought on the banks of the river Ravi. Sudas emerged victorious. So what are the causes of the battle? Immediate cause, dispute between the Purohitas, conflict over the sharing of the waters of the river Ravi, and cattle. So this is the Battle of 10 Kings and the Rig Vedic polity. Clear? Can I move on to Rig Vedic society? Rig Vedic society. I'll come to that. Jia, I'll answer your question. Yeah, the Bharata. No, no, no. The name Bharat comes from the Bharata tribe. No, not the Bharata tribe. I'll come to that. We have the son of, according to folklore, Kalidasa wrote a book, no, that is Abhignana Shakuntala, and we have the son born to Dushyanta, King Dushyanta, and Shakuntala, and that son was Bharata, and he was the descendant of the Kuru tribe. So that's where the name Bharata, Bharata Varsha comes from. That's where the word Bharata Varsha comes from. The descendants of Bharata, the descendants of Bharata, Bharata Varsha. Hemalata, Alexander versus Dasyus. No, no, I don't know much about that, Hemalata. What Dasyus, Alexander versus Dasyus. I have no idea what you're talking about. We'll come back here. Rig Vedic society. Let's talk about Rig Vedic society. Now, the society was patriarchal. Understand this? The society was patriarchal. Father was the head of the house. So it was a patriarchal society. It was a tribal and egalitarian society. It was a tribal society where there was equality, egalitarianism. It was an egalitarian society. Everybody was equal in the tribe. Why everybody was equal in the tribe? Because there was no concept of caste. The concept of caste had not yet come into existence. Therefore, everybody was equal in the tribe. It was a class divided society. Understand this? It was a class divided society, or you can say on the basis of occupation, you have the society divided into three groups. So it was a class divided society where there was professional mobility. Professional mobility. It was a class divided society where there was professional mobility. There were three occupations. So there were three occupations during this period, the Rigvedic period. We have the Brahmana. The Brahmana performed the duty of a Purohit. Purohita, or he was a priest. So he was either a Purohit or a priest or a teacher. I'm sorry, Purohit means priest and a teacher. So he was either a Purohita or a teacher. A priest or a teacher. Then we have the Rajanya. Rajanya, also sometimes called Kshatriya. So Rajanya is the exact word in the Rig Veda. It's not Kshatriya, but it is used as Kshatriya. So Rajanya was the warrior. He did the duty of a warrior. And then we have Vis, that is commoners. Commoners like you and me, commoners. Like for example, you have farmers, that is peasants, artisans, engaging in small scale and cottage industries, etc. So there were three occupations: Brahmana, Rajanya, Vish. Brahmana, Rajanya, and Vish. But please understand, everybody was equal here in the society. It was not that the Brahmana was superior to the Rajanya or the Kshatriya, or he was superior to the Vish. Everybody was equal. And a person could choose the occupation of his choice in his lifetime. So therefore, I said there was professional mobility. What is the meaning of professional mobility? You could choose the occupation of your choice. For example, let's say there's a person called A. There's a person called A. So he starts off his career as a priest. So he becomes a priest in his younger days, and he does the job of a priest for about 10 years. And he is bored up with his job, same routine every day, going to going and praying and engaging in spiritual pursuits. He wants some adventure. So he can stop doing the job of a priest, and he can do the job of a warrior. Okay, Rajanya. So he will learn some sword fighting, etc. And then he will do the job of a warrior for about, let us say, 5 years. Then he again gets bored with being a warrior. He wants to do business or he wants to do farming. So he will do farming for some time. Okay, he'll become a farmer. Then he will become an artisan. And in his old age, he might again become a priest. He might want to do the job of a priest. So one can wear different hats in one's lifetime. So all occupations were considered to be equal, right? So that is called professional mobility, right? Then we have inter-dining concept. Inter-dining amongst the Varnas. What is inter-dining? Brahmana can go to the house of a Rajanya and have food, or he can go to the house of a Vish and have food. The others can also go to the house of a Brahmana or a Rajanya or a Vish and have food. There was no restriction. So there was inter-dining amongst the Varnas. Inter-marriages amongst the Varnas. Interesting. Inter-marriages amongst the Varnas. So Brahmana can marry a warrior, a girl from a Kshatriya community, Kshatriya class. Then, or somebody, Brahmana can marry a commoner can marry a Brahmana or a Rajanya, etc., etc. So, inter-professional mobility was there amongst the occupations, inter-dining, inter-marriages. Then, you see, monogamy was the norm. Monogamy, that is one man having one wife. Monogamy was a norm. But then we also have examples of polygamy and polyandry. Polygamy, one man having more than one wife. Polyandry, puts ulta, one wife having more than one husband. The minimum marriageable age was 16 years after puberty. Minimum marriageable age, 16 years after puberty for a girl. So girl, minimum marriageable age was 16 years. That means there was no child marriage. We have no corruptions in the society like child marriage. There was no child marriage. Then no sati, no dowry. Then you have encouragement given to widow remarriage. Women were given education on par with males. So women were educated. So women can pursue education. And so there were some girls who did not want to get married. They could pursue lifelong studies. They were called Brahmavadinis. Brahmavadinis. She's not interested in marrying. So she wants to do only studies, research, etc. So she can pursue that. So such women were called Brahmavadinis. And the minimum marriageable age for a girl was 16 years after puberty, after maturity. Of course, we have corruptions in society like slavery. Slavery existed, but then slaves were treated in a humane manner. That is, they were not ill-treated like in ancient Rome and Greece. We gave them boarding, lodging facilities, and slavery was there, but slaves were treated in a humane manner. And of course, we have one institution called levirate, that is Niyoga. Niyoga existed. What is Niyoga? In English, it is called levirate system. Levirate system. What is levirate here or Niyoga? An issueless widow could cohabit with the dead husband's brother or next in kin until she begets a child. That's the meaning of Niyoga. I'll repeat. An issueless widow, that is, a widow who doesn't have any children of her own, can marry the dead husband's brother or brother blood relation. So let us say there's a girl who is 16 years. There's a girl called A, and she gets married today at the age of 16 years. And today evening, she was going in her bullock cart along with her husband, and a tree fell down. There was a storm, and a tree fell down on the bullock cart, and the husband was killed. So this girl has become a widow, and such a girl, after some time, can have relationship with the dead husband's brother or blood relation until she begets a child, until she gets a child of her own. So such a marriage or a relationship was considered to be valid until that girl called A has her own children, has her own child. What do you think was the reason for such an institution to exist? Niyoga. Did you understand Niyoga? All of you? Niyoga. Can you raise your hands? Okay, Shilpa. Okay, right. I don't know that story, Nikhil. I'm sorry for that. I'll not be able to speak much about that. So Kola says yes, sir. Okay. So what was the reason? Why do you think Niyoga existed? According to you, what could be the reason why Niyoga, an institution called Niyoga, existed? Satyanarayana says, Praja, mainly sons required. What is the guarantee that she will give birth to only sons, Satyanarayana? She might have 15 daughters and no sons. Then, yeah, only if a widow had no child. Correct. Hemalata, only if a widow had no child. To continue the lineage, Nikhil, what if that widow doesn't give birth at all? Not to continue the lineage, definitely. That means she should have sons for the continuation of lineage. No. To have children, so that has to empower widows. Jia is right. This is more to give social security to the girl. To provide social security to the girl. You see, let us say that girl has no parents. She got married about a month back and both her parents died, right? And her husband also is dead. And she's a widow. She's a young girl, 16, 17-year-old girl. The society can take advantage of such a girl. She's good looking. She's still young. So if she has her own child, it is presumed that that child she'll have a purpose to live. That child will take care of her mother or his mother, even in her old age, in her middle age and old age. So the whole idea of Niyoga was to provide social security to the girl. This is Rig Vedic polity, Rig Vedic society. So everything good was there. There was no corruption in the society like sati, dowry, child marriage, widow remarriage was encouraged. Women were on par with males. They were given education. Many of them opted to be full-time students like Brahmavadinis. Slavery existed, but slaves were treated in a humane manner, mostly as domestic servants, not in the productive activities like forcibly engaging them in agriculture, etc. Mostly in domestic work. So these are some of the aspects about Rig Vedic society. Okay, so we'll look at the PPTs here on your screen. Society was patriarchal. On your screen, society was patriarchal. It was tribal and egalitarian. Egalitarian because there was no caste system, had not evolved. It was a semi-nomadic economy. Economy was pastoral. There was semi-nomadic. It was a class-divided society wherein there was professional mobility. So there were basically three professions. You can see on your screen, three occupations or professions. Brahmana was the priestly class. Rajanya was the warrior. Vish were commoners like farmers and artisans. Okay, there's only one reference to the Shudra. Understand this? I forgot to mention this. There's only one reference to the Shudra. The word Shudra comes towards the end of the Rig Vedic period in a shloka called Purusha Sukta hymn in Mandala 10 of the Rig Veda. So Purusha Sukta hymn in Mandala 10 of the Rig Veda. So there's a word called Shudra. Now, what is the explanation given in this Purusha Sukta hymn? Now look here. So here, imagine this is the primeval man. What is primeval man? That is Brahman, the first man to exist on this earth. Imagine he is Brahman. Okay, he is Brahma. This is his mouth. This is no eyes. Right now, this is Brahman. Okay, the primeval man, the first man to exist on this earth. So he was like a god, primeval man. Now we are told from his forehead, from Brahman's forehead arose the Brahmana. So the Brahmana arose from his forehead, I believe. From his shoulders arose the Kshatriya or the Rajanya. The Rajanya arose from the shoulders of the Brahman. Then from his thighs arose the Vaishya. And from his feet arose the Shudra. This explanation is given in the Purusha Sukta hymn in Mandala 10 of the Rig Veda. Mandala means book of 10 of the Rig Veda. The same explanation is there in the Manusmriti and the Mahabharata. Even in the Mahabharata and the Manusmriti, we have the same explanation. As regards the origin of the four Varanas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So Shudra was supposed to serve the upper three Varanas, right? So this is what is there. Did you understand what I just now told you? So from the forehead of Brahman arose Brahmana, from his thighs Vaishya, from his shoulders Rajanya, and from the feet arose the Shudra. Then interdining concept was there, interdining amongst the four varnas. Interclass marriages were there, intervarna marriages. Then there was gender equality. Monogamy was the norm, but we also have examples of polygamy and polyandry. Social evils were absent, like sati and dowry. Then sati was not in practice; it was only symbolic. Child marriages were prohibited. Women were given education on par with males. They were called Brahmavadinis. For example, Vishwavara, Apala, Gosha, Slopamudra. They were all girls who engaged in, they were all women scholars. Widow remarriages were allowed, and Niyoga was there. That is, a widow marrying her dead husband's brother or next in kin. That is blood relation. Blood relation. Kin means blood relation. Until she has a child of her own. Slavery was prevalent. Okay, this is about Rig Vedic society. Are you there with me? This is Rig Vedic society for you. Can you please raise your hands? All clear? Okay. Now let us come to Rig Vedic economy. Yes, yeah, Hemalata. Such a marriage would automatically be terminated once the widow has her own child. So such a relationship would automatically get terminated. Right. Now let us talk about Rig Vedic economy. Now, Rig Vedic economy. Basically, understand this, it was a pastoral economy. It was a pastoral economy. Cows and pastures were their main sources of wealth. So it was a pastoral economy. Cows and pastures were their main source of wealth. And we have cow and its various appellations used in the Rig Veda. So, for example, cow was the most important animal called Gau. Gau is cow or cow, most important animal. Most important animal is this cow. Mentioned how many times in the Rig Veda? 176 times. 176 times we have the mention of the word Gau referring to cow. Now, we have the head of the tribe is called Rajan, isn't it? But Rajan also was called Gopa, that is protector of cattle, protector of cows. Rajan, Gopa. We have a word called Gomat, referring to a rich man. So let us say there's a person called A who has got about 100 cows and B has 200 cows. So B is richer than A because B has more number of cows than A. So Gomat, referring to a rich man. Then Dauhitar. Dauhitar refers to a daughter. Dauhitri or Dauhitar, referring to a daughter. And she is called milker of cow. Milker of cow. So she is to milk the cow for milk. So daughter, Dauhitr. Then we have the word called Gotra, all referring to women. You see, all referring to the word Gau, Gomat, Gopa, Dauhitr, milker of cow. Gotra means cow pen. That is a group of people from having a common ancestor. So a group of people having a common ancestor. A group of people having a common ancestor. And these ancestors were named after a prominent sage like Bharadwaja, Gautama, Atri, Vishwamitra, like that. Kashyapa. These are the various type of names of Gotras named after a sage or an ancestor. Gotra. Cow pen is what? Cow pen is you tie the cow without a roof on top. So you tie it on with a peg. No, you tie the a cow to a peg without a shelter on top of the cow's head. That's called a cow pen. So cow gotra refers to people having a common ancestor. So basically, it was an exogamous group, exogamous group. That is, you cannot marry two people of the same gotra cannot marry. Even now, that is followed. Whoever follows astrology, the Hindus, traditional Hindus who follow astrology, and the matching of kundali and all that for marriages. If the boy and the girl, it is believed, if they are from the same gotra, if they belong to the same gotra, they cannot marry. Why? Because they have a common ancestor, which means to say that they are brothers and sisters. So therefore, they cannot marry. So that is gotra, kaupen. Then godhuli. Godhuli is referring to measurement of time. Godhuli. So what is this godhuli? Dhuli. Godhuli. Godhuli is measurement of time. So you see, you have the cow herd who will take the cows for grazing in the morning. So when the cows are being led away from the village to the meadows, to the grasslands, they will raise a lot of dust as they are being led away from the village. That is the dhul or the dust of the cows. So similarly, in the evening, when they enter the village back from their grazing, they again raise dust and then they enter the village. That is called Godhuli. Godhuli, measurement of time. Gavyuti, Gavyuti, measurement of distance. The distance between the hind leg and the front leg. The distance between the front leg and the back leg. The hind leg of the cow. Gavyuti, distance. Gogna, referring to a guest. So guest is called cow killer, referring to a guest. Now, according to these are all research done by prominent historians, and they tell us that cow was consumed, beef was consumed by the Vedic Aryans. That's what they say. For example, we have Apastamba Smriti, written by Apastamba. He says that to satisfy the Pitrus, to satisfy the ancestors, the Brahmin should be fed with meat and fish. So meat and fish should be given to the Brahmin so that he'll bless, and then the Pitrus are happy, the ancestors. So here, please understand, um, the cow is called Aghanya. Cow is also called Aghanya. Aghanya means what? Aghanya means not to be killed. Cow should not be killed. Not to be killed. So cow is the most sacred animal, the most precious animal, mentioned 176 times. And we have a word in the Rig Veda which says cow should not be killed, Aghanya, in the Vedas. But then we are also stating that cow was killed and eaten. Beef was consumed by the Vedic Aryans. So what type of cows were killed? I believe the sterile cows. The sterile cows were killed and eaten, whereas the fertile cows were not eaten. What is fertile cow? Fertile cow is that which gives milk and calves. So such cows were not eaten. Fertile cows were not eaten. Whereas sterile cows, that is those cows which had stopped giving milk and stopped giving birth to calves, were consumed and eaten, killed and eaten. So cow is the most important animal in the Rig Vedic period. We also have the next important animal is the horse. Horse is called Ashwa. Ashwa. Ashwa is the horse. Mentioned how many times? 215 times in the Rig Veda. Cow is mentioned 176 times. Gau. Whereas Ashwa is mentioned 215 times in the Rig Veda. So just because the horse is mentioned more number of times doesn't mean that horse is the more important animal. It is the cow. So keep that in mind. Yeah, Sapinda marriage was so same go exogamous. That is, exogamous marriage was not allowed. That is correct, Nikhil. Even now it is not allowed. Actually, strictly speaking, if the girl and the boy belong to the same gotra, even now it's not allowed. But nowadays, things are different. We are in a modern society. girl and the boy are working. They have decided to marry. Then the pujari, you give him some extra money, he'll find a way. Extra money, he'll find a way to marry. For example, when Aishwarya Rai and Abhishek Bachchan, they were supposed to get married, there was some dosh, I believe. If I remember, there was some dosh. They were manglik, so therefore could not marry each other. So what was the solution provided? Solution provided was that Aishwarya Rai should marry banana plants, a banana tree. And the banana tree was cut off, okay, with a knife. So that means she has become a widow, and then she could marry. So they like these solutions they'll find. So don't worry if you get caught in such a situation in future. Some of you, so you have a solution, okay, in the Vedic among the Vedic pandits, okay. So, Nikhil, it looks like you're a law student. I don't know much about those things. I'm telling you whatever I know, right? So, Gotra means Kaupen. People are having a common ancestor. Okay, so we'll come back here. So this is about Vedic economy. So Ashva was a second important animal, horse. Then we also have Ustra, camel. Ustra is a camel. So remember these words. Ustra was a camel. Now, if I ask you a question, did the Harappans know about lion? Did the Harappans know about lion and tiger? What about tiger and lion? Harappans? Shilpa says yes. Do you have evidence, Shilpa, to say yes? No. Hemalata is right. Kola is right. You remember the animals around Pashupati Mahadeva: elephant, rhino, tiger, and a bull. Elephant, tiger, rhino, bull. There was no mention of horse anywhere in amongst the Harappans. So here in the Vedic period, people knew about lion. They knew about lion, but not tiger. Whereas Harappans knew about tiger, but not lion. So remember that. Whereas Vedic Aryans knew about lion, and not tiger. Yes, tiger confirmed because of seals. You are right. So tiger was known, not lions among the Harappans. Whereas during the Vedic period, lion was known, not the tiger. So apart from pastoralism, what was the other aspect of their economy? Agriculture was there, was supplementary activity. Agriculture was a supplementary activity. Agriculture was a supplementary activity. So they grew yava. They cultivated yava. What is yava? Wheat and barley. Wheat and barley. That is called yava. They cultivated wheat and barley. Then they had no knowledge of rice. So during this period, there was no knowledge of rice. They had no knowledge of rice. Then, of course, we have the plow. Plow is called sira during the Rig Vedic period. Whereas in the later Vedic period, plow is called hala. So plow was known, plow is called sira, right? And agriculture was a supplementary activity. Further, we have small scale and cottage industries. Spinning and weaving was done by women. Basically, textile industry, spinning and weaving, mostly done by women. Done by women, right? And we have a few garments mentioned like nivi, paridana, atka. These are all garments, names of garments mentioned in the Rig Veda. Then you have the Kulala, who was the potter. Kulala was the potter. Takshan was the carpenter. Takshan was the carpenter, etc. And we have a word called Nila Lohita. Nila Lohita in the Rig Veda. It refers to the painted graveware. This was the distinctive pottery of the period. Painted graveware, PGW. What was the pottery of the Harappans called? Painted graveware. That is PGW. That was the distinctive pottery of the Aryans. So this is a PGW non-iron phase. PGW non-iron phase. So Rig Vedic period is also called PGW, non-iron phase. So they had no knowledge of iron during this period. So what did they have knowledge of among the metals? They knew about ayas, copper and bronze. They knew about copper and bronze, not iron. So they had no knowledge of iron, right? And of course, we have the mode of exchange. What was the mode of exchange? Mode of exchange was the cow. Mode of exchange was the cow or the gow, and also gold ornaments of fixed weight and value. Gold ornaments were of fixed weight and value. That is, you have Nishka, Hiranya Pindas, and Manas, MANS. These are the gold ornaments of fixed weight and value, which acted as coins. They were not coins, they were only gold ornaments, but they served the purpose of coins. They acted like coins. So this was the mode of exchange, cow and gold ornaments of fixed weight and value. So basically it was a self-sufficient economy. Please understand, it was a self-sufficient economy. So whatever they cultivated was not for the wider market, for their own self-consumption. This is your Rig Vedic economy. Yeah, you're right. Black on red ware, BRW. That is a distinctive pottery of the Harappans, black on red ware. So they used to make pots on the wheel, and then they used to fire it in the kiln. And once it is removed from the kiln and it becomes cool, they used to give it a red slip of paint. And once the red color dried up, they used to make designs in black. So therefore, Harappan pottery, as Gia pointed out correctly, is black on red ware, BRW. Whereas the distinctive pottery of this period is called painted grey ware, PGW. This was a non-iron PGW phase. Are you there with me? Rig Vedic economy, please raise your hands. Please raise your hand. Okay, Pooja says yes. What about others? What about others? Are you clear? Gia, Satyanarana, okay, good. Can I move on? So just take a 5 minutes break. Just take a 5 minutes break and come back. Just 5 minutes break. So we'll take a 40 minutes break at 3 o'clock. 3 to 3:40 is your lunch time. And again, we'll meet at 3:40. But now we'll come back in 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes break. We'll come back. Okay. Good afternoon. Can we continue? Am I audible and visible? Okay. All of you are back. So let us continue this topic. Um, so we were discussing the Rig Vedic economy. So let us go back here and look at the PPTs. So basically, it was a pastoral economy. As you can see, it was a pastoral economy. Cow was the epicenter of their socio-political life. Cow was the most important animal. And cow has been called what? Gau. G-A-U. Cow was called Gau. Mentioned how many times? 176 times in the Rig Veda. Rajan is also known as Gopa, protector of cattle. Gomat was a rich man. Then Dauhitar referred to a daughter. She is called milker of cow. Gotra was a cow pen. That is group of people having a common ancestor. Then Godhuli, measurement of time. Gavyuti, measurement of distance. Gogana means cow killer, referring to a guest. So this part is interesting. So whenever a guest came home, most often beef was served. Beef was served, and how do we know this? Look at the scholars who have told us this. R.L. Mitra in his book Indo-Aryan says that beef eating was in practice in the early Vedic age. There is reference to meat eating by upper classes, including Brahmins. Apasthamba Smriti, written by Apasthamba. He says, in order to satisfy the Pitras, that is dead ancestors, the Brahmins shall be fed on meat and fish. So we go by what is there in the standard history textbooks written by historians after extensive research. We are not going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about anything controversial around this area, this aspect. So there may be other historians who might think otherwise, but then we go by a standard, whatever is there in the written by standard historians, not in the WhatsApp University. So cow mentioned 176 times. A cow is called Aganya, not to be killed. But then we know that fertile cows were not killed, sterile cows were killed and eaten. Ashwa was the second most important animal, mentioned 215 times. Ustra was a camel. Lion was known, but not tiger. Tiger was not known. Then agriculture was a supplementary activity. They cultivated yava, wheat and barley. Rice was not known. Then Sira Langala referred to a plow. Remember these words. Sira Langala referred to a plow, whereas in the later Vedic period, plow was called Hala. Then Plaza was the plowshare. Sita was furrows, land was plowed. So from these words, we come to know that agriculture, agriculture though was not the main occupation, but agriculture was engaged in by the Vedic Aryans on a small scale. So Plaza was a plowshare. Sita was field that was already plowed. Urvara was a fertile land. Datra was a sickle. Kulya, irrigation canals. Textile industry engaged mostly by women, engaged in by mostly women, spinning and weaving. Vyaya is called a weaver. Vasana, Nivi, Paridana, Atka were clothes. Takshan was the carpenter. Ratakara was a chariot maker. Kulala was a potter. The distinctive pottery of this period is called Nila Lohita, that is painted graveware. Painted graveware or Nila Lohita. Iron was not known. Term ayas refers to copper and bronze. Limited trade and commerce. It was a self-sufficient economy. Then apart from the cow, which was the medium of exchange, they used gold ornaments of fixed weight and value called Nishkas, Manas, Hiranyapindas. Gold ornaments of fixed weight and value. It did not denote coins. This is about Rig Vedic economy. Clear? We have done geographical knowledge of Rig Vedic Aryans, Rig Vedic polity, society, economy. Can we go to religion? All of you? Afternoon time, I know, lunch time, but then eat less, be more alert. You can take a nap in the gap between 3 and 3:40. You can go for a nap of half an hour and come back. So you'll be much more fresher than that way. But then try to focus, right? So let us come back here, Rig Vedic religion. So let us talk about Rig Vedic religion. So what I'm doing is I'm discussing this, right? So on the plain paper, I'm writing some points and I'm discussing that particular topic, and then I'm showing you the PPTs. Is that helping you? So that becomes a revision for you. You're hearing it for the second time. and you are reading it also, the PPTs. So that way you'll be better able to understand. So nice method. Okay, thank you. So shall I continue that same method? So okay. Now let us come to Rig Vedic religion. Rig Vedic religion. Now, what is monotheism? You all know monotheism. What is monotheism? Monotheism. Polytheism. So worship of one God is monotheism, correct? Kumar, Jia. It's a very simple question, Apurva. And polytheism is worship of many gods. Worship of many gods. Now look here. What is henotheism or ketinotheism? So Rig Vedic religion has been called henotheism. Has been called henotheism or ketinotheism. Ketinotheism. That is monotheism within polytheism. Monotheism within polytheism is called henotheism or ketinotheism. So let us take the example now among the Hindus. Among the Hindus, they worship many gods. Ganesh is there compulsory. Ganesha. Then of course Shiva is there. Then Venkateshwara might be there. Krishna. Then you might have saints like Sai Baba or some other saint, right? Lakshmi, um, Parvati, Kali, Durga, Hanuman, Rama, Krishna. So many gods are there, right? And Hindus worship all these gods. Many of them are considered to be avatars of Vishnu, right? And of course, Shiva has his children, Subramanya, Muruga, Kartikeya, and also Ganesh. So all these gods are worshipped. Now, let's say there's a family called A. Let's say there's a family called A, and this family is going through a lot of problems. So the children are not getting settled, in the sense there's a lot of health issue. The girls are not getting married. The boys are not getting married. They're not getting jobs. Both the girls and the boys in the house, the daughters and the sons. A lot of health issues, and all the members of the family are very very tense. So let us say the grandparents, the parents take the jataka, that is the horoscope of the parents to the astrologer. So A and B are husband and wife, and their children C, D, E, F are having a lot of problems, and everybody is tensed up, including A and B. So therefore, let us say they take the horoscopes of all these people to the astrologer. The astrologer will do the calculation, and then he'll ask a question. When did you last visit your family deity, family god or goddess? So the father might say, it has been almost 20 years. We have not gone to our ancestral temple, ancestral village, where our family god or goddess is there. So the astrologer might say that is a problem. That's where the problem is. The god is your ancestral, the family god is very, very angry with you because you are not gone and shown respect there. So please, first of all, go there, perform some puja, some prayers, feed some people, cut a sheep or a chicken, whatever. You make some offering to the god, and then everything will be all right. So you run to the family runs to the village, their ancestral village, and they go to the temple and ask for forgiveness, and they'll fulfill all the rituals which the astrologer or the purohit has told them. So suddenly, that family god or goddess has become more important than all the gods in his house, in their house. That is called henotheism or ketinotheism. Okay, that is your uh, ghar ki devata, or your family god or goddess. So that is considered, that god or goddess is considered more important than the other gods and goddesses. That is called henotheism or ketinotheism, and we even now follow all these things. Do you agree with me? Worship of one god, Kul Devata, that's what I meant. So Kul Devata is more important than the other Devatas. Other Devatas are also there, but Kul Devata is the favorite Devata. So that is called henotheism or ketinotheism. I believe Aryans used to worship 33 gods during this period. They were nature worshippers. We have seen this. They were nature worshippers. They were not able to understand why there is a sun in the sky, moon, wind, rain, earth, etc. So they gave them names: Surya, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Indra, Nasatyas, Prithvi, Akasha, etc. They compose hymns, prayers, shlokas in praise of these gods, and then they worshipped them. So basically, there was no concept of bhakti during this period. It was simple rituals and offerings of yava, vegetables, fruits. So it was a simple and materialistic religion. Please understand what is the meaning of simple and materialistic. Materialistic religion is they will offer yava. Yava is wheat and barley, vegetables, fruits, like that. And then they will ask in return from the gods to bestow upon them and their tribe praja, pashu, dhana. So in return, they will ask for praja, that is mainly sons, pashu, we know this, cattle, and dhana, wealth. So it was a simple and materialistic religion. Are you there with me? 33 gods, 33 gods. And these 33 gods are divided into three sections on your screen, Kumar. Prithvisthana, Antariksha Dhyusthana. Terrestrial gods, earthbound gods. So they are always on the earth, so they cannot rise above. So who are the earthbound gods? Prithvi, Agni, Soma, Brihaspati, and the rivers. These are the Prithvi gods, Prithvi Sthana gods, terrestrial. Then Antariksha Sthana or Madhyama Sthana, intermediate gods, atmospheric gods or intermediate gods. Indra, Rudra, Vayu, Vata, Parajanya, Matariswan. Then Dhyusthana, celestial gods. So they are in the space, topmost section. Dayus, Mitra, Surya, Savitri, Pushan, Vishnu, Aditya, Ushas, Ashwin. So these gods are divided into three sections corresponding to the three parts of the universe. Prithvisthana, Antarikshasthana, and Dhyusthana. So totally 33 gods, right? Divided into three groups. Now, among these gods, so this has got repeated here. So here, I believe there's a book called Shatapatha Brahmana. It says that there was frequent wars between the Suras and the Asuras, that is the Aryans and the Dravidians. The Aryans and the Dravidians, Suras and Asuras. And it was the Asuras who were winning initially. Therefore, upon the advice of Brahma, they elected Indra as their leader. The Suras elected Indra as their leader. And after that, they began to win wars. So frequent wars between the Suras and the Asuras. And on the advice of Brahma, who suggested that Indra should become their leader. So once they made Indra their leader, the Suras began to win and score victories over the Asuras. Now, during this period, the most important god was Indra. Very interesting this part is. Understand this. Indra, most important of the Rig Vedic gods was Indra. Indra Devata. So Indra is supposedly a god who was the warlord and the rain god of the Aryans. So he was the warlord and the rain god, I believe. Rain god now is Varuna. That duty during those days was done by also Indra. Rain god now is Varuna. So here Indra was the warlord and the rain god. He has been known by different titles. What are the titles of Indra? Somapa, principal Soma drinker. So Soma and Sura were the intoxicants of those days. So Somapa, he's called the principal Soma drinkers. He was like a rowdy god, always drinking and feasting and fighting wars. So Somapa, he's called Somapa. He's called Jitendra. He's called Purandhara. Purandhara is breaker of forts. So here historians believe that Aryans used to drink Soma and Sura, pray to Indra, and they used to attack the citadels of the Harappans. So Purandara here refers to the citadel of the Harappans, the breaker of forts. Purandara means breaker of forts, and forts here refer to the citadel of the Harappans. So Somapa, Jitendra, Purandara, Shatakratu, Vritrahan, he supposed to have killed a demon with a weapon called Vajra. So what was the weapon of Indra? Vajra. And he had a mount, he had a vehicle, that is Airavat. Airavat was his vehicle. So this was an elephant, white elephant, and a white elephant with 7 trunks. 7 trunks. So it is a white elephant with 7 trunks, and and four tusks, right? And of course, the Vedas don't mention about the dancers. So Indra is famous for his dancers, Rambha, Urvashi, Menaka, Tilottama, etc. But then there is no mention of the dancers. Probably they were not born in the Rigvedic period. So they were yet to appear. So this is Indra for you. He was the warlord and the rain god of the Aryans. And 250 hymns are dedicated to Indra. 250 shlokas are dedicated to Indra. Most important of the gods during this period. He was the most important god, Indra. Are you there with me? So on your screen, you see Indra. I have put a picture here. Indra, 250 hymns are dedicated to him. Most important Rigvedic god. He's called warlord and rain god, known by different titles. Everything is not important. Purandhara, you remember, breaker of forts. Somapa, principal Soma drinker. He killed Vritra. So the Vritra was a demon in the guise of a serpent. In the guise of a serpent. So he's supposed to have killed that demon called Vritra with his Vajra. Therefore, he's called Vritrahan. Vritrahan, right? So this is Indra for you. Clear? Can I move on? The next important god is Agni. Agni Devata, second important god. So Agni, so on your screen, 200, he's Agni, fire. So 200 hymns are dedicated to him, second most important god. Agni was the priest of the gods and the gods of the priests. Priest of the gods and god of the priests. Priest of the god and gods of the priests. Now look here. Agni was like an intermediary between the people on the earth and gods in the heaven. Agni was like an intermediary. Agni, second most important god, 200 hymns are dedicated to him. Now, he is acting as a middleman. Agni is the middleman between people on the earth, okay, people on the earth and gods in the heaven, gods who are in the heaven. Now, look here. Let's say there's a family called A. There's a family called A. There are 5 members, or there are 6 members in this family. Okay, let's say. And this family is having a lot of problems, health issues, progress issues. That is a common thing in every family, health issue or money issue or, peace of mind is not there. Things are not moving, you know, um, they're not getting jobs or they're losing jobs quickly, even if they get it. They're not getting married, or even if they're getting married, the marriage is not happening properly. It's not going smoothly. So a lot of problems. Everybody have problems. So let us say there's a family called A, and there are 6 members there, and things are not moving smoothly in this family. So they consult the astrologer, and the astrologer says that you perform a homa or a sacrifice, right? And if you perform this homa, all the problem will go away. So you perform, let us say, Navagraha Homa, a homa to appease all the 9 planets, Navagraha, 9 planets. Let's say, then he will say, I'll also perform a Rudra Homa, appease Shiva. Shiva is angry with you, therefore you perform a Rudra Homa, etc., etc. So then the head of the family, A, will tell the pujari, the purohit or the astrologer, you arrange everything, whatever is the amount, I'll pay you. So that is agreed upon. And let's say, when do we start the homa? Tomorrow morning, we will come and start the puja, start the homa. So the family members have got up early that day. They've got ready. They're waiting for the purohits to come. So about 6 or 7 of them come, let us say. And then what do? They will set up a yagna kund, homa kund. Okay, yagna kund, a particular dimension. So they will arrange the bricks, etc. Or they would have brought a ready-made sort of a cauldron, and then they would have got all the puja materials. Then what would they do? They will kindle a fire. Everybody is sitting around the home. See, these are all the family members sitting there along with the pujaris here. Pujaris are here, let's say, and then they start with Ganapati home. So offerings are made to the Ganapati, to Ganesha. Like everything is put in the fire. Swaha, right? Paddy, grains, vegetables, honey, milk, curd, etc., is poured there, and Ganapati is appeased. So through smoke, whatever is put in that fire is taken to Ganapati, who is waiting to have his breakfast in the morning. So once Ganapati, so through the medium of smoke, all those are carried to Ganesha in the heaven, and Ganesha is happy. He's got a breakfast after a long time from this family, so he has blessed them. Then the 9 planets are prayed to one by one. Okay, Surya, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, etc. So they're all worshipped, and then Rudra is worshipped. Shiva is also, home is performed. So the gods are appeased, and the gods have blessed this family that that they are with them, and things will be smooth henceforth. So Agni was doing that job during those days. He was an intermediary between the people on the earth and gods in the heaven. Through what was his vehicle? His vehicle was the smoke. His vehicle is the smoke, and therefore Agni is called Havya Vahana. In Havya, in Sanskrit, is smoke, Havya Vahana. Havya Vahana is through the medium of smoke, he carries everything offered in the Homa, in that Agni, in the sacred Homa, to the gods in the heaven. So this is Agni's duty. Do you understand? Hello? Did you understand what I just now told you? So you must have witnessed these homes going on. You may be wondering why all those things are put in the fire, because gods are waiting to have their breakfast, lunch, dinner, depending upon which time of the day that homa is being performed. Generally performed in the mornings, right, early mornings. Now, where does Agni reside? Agni is supposed to reside in your domestic hearth. Domestic hearth. What is the meaning of domestic hearth? Where you cook your food, where your kitchen is supposed to be located. That is the southeast corner. According to Vastu Shastra, in the southeast corner of your house, there should be a kitchen, right? That's where the fire should be kindled to cook food. So that is what it is. This is where he resides, Agni, in the domestic hearth, in your kitchen, where the fire is cooked, where the fire is supposed to be placed, and in the sky, in the form of lightning, in the sky, in the form of lightning. So this is Agni for you. It's the second most important god on your screen. He's called the priest of the gods, god of the priests. Aditi, called Aditi, acted as an intermediary between people on the earth and gods in the heaven. So 3 forms: terrestrial or fire, atmospheric, lightning, celestial or sun. So he is the second most important god. Are you there with me? Third important god is Soma. Soma was the third important god. So he was the god of plants in the Rig Vedic period. He became the king of gods in the later Vedic period. So I mentioned here, king of plants in the Rig Vedic period. And in the later Vedic period, he is the king of gods. Now, please understand, Soma was the name of a god, and Soma was also the name of a drink. Soma was the name of a god, and Soma was also the name of a drink. Now, Soma, Sura. So, along with Sura, you have Soma. So they go together, these two drinks. God knows how they tasted, but then it intoxicated the Aryans. So they drank Soma and Sura, and they worshipped Indra and went to war. So we all know that. Now, out of 120 hymns in Mandala 9 of the Rig Veda. So we have the book 9, Mandala 9. Out of 120 hymns in Mandala 9, 114 hymns are dedicated to the god Soma. 114 hymns are dedicated to Soma god. So where does he reside? Where does Soma reside on this earth? Where is his headquarters? Mujavant Hills, Himalayas. He's supposed to reside in the Mujavant Hills. So that's where he stays. Mujavant Hills in the Himalayas. Okay, so PO box is not there, but then he resides there somewhere in the Himalayas, in the so-called Mujavant Hills. Soma, third most important god. Out of 120 hymns, 114 hymns are dedicated to Soma. And we have this expert historian called R.G. Vassan. R.G. Vassan says it was a type of a mushroom. He says Soma was a mushroom which was consumed by the Aryans. That is according to him. And the Amanita muscaria, he says. Right. So he is the third most important god, Soma. How many? So this is Soma. Then the next important god is Varuna. Varuna, 20 hymns are dedicated to him. Varuna is called world sovereign. So he personifies water. Varuna personified water. Varuna Devata, who is supposed to cause rainfall nowadays, personified water, Varuna. 20 hymns are dedicated to him, and he is called world sovereign. Understand this? UPSC asked a question from this particular god, about this god. He is called world sovereign, king of the world. So he is supposed to be the person who is supposed to see that the sun rises in the horizon every day, then sets, and then the moon comes out. All the oceans are flowing at a particular level. No one ocean is overflowing, in other words. So all those things are running in a smooth manner, and that God who is responsible for the entire universe working smoothly is supposedly this Varuna Devata. Varuna. He's supposed to be the upholder of the Rita, or the cosmic order. You can see here, this was a UPSC question asked. This was a UPSC question asked. He was the upholder of the Rita or Rata, natural or cosmic order. What is the meaning of that? Sun arising in the horizon, setting in the evening. Similarly, moon coming out and then setting in early morning, like that. So all these are taken care by the god called Varuna Devata. Varuna. 20 hymns are dedicated to Varuna. Right? So Kumar, Rigveda, I told you, geographical knowledge of Rigvedic Aryans. Himalayas are mentioned and some of its peaks like Mujavan, Silament, Arjika. Kumar, do you remember? You just forgotten. Geographical knowledge of Rigvedic Aryans. That time only I told you Himalayas are mentioned in the Rigveda. So, Mujavan Hills is where, Soma, God Soma is supposed to reside. Then we have some female divinities. Usha, early morning goddess. Usha, early morning goddess. Aditi, goddess of eternity. Aranyani, Aranya is forest in Sanskrit, Aranya, so forest goddess. Nirti, goddess of death and decay. Savitri, the solar goddess. So we have the shlok in the Rig Veda, Gayatri mantra, composed by Vishwamitra. So it belongs to the Vedic period. It is in honor of the solar goddess Savitri. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. So this is supposed to be the Gayatri mantra, which was composed by Vishwamitra in praise of the solar goddess Savitri, which is even now chanted every day throughout among the Hindus throughout the world. So many of them recite the Gayatri mantra early mornings. So Savitri, it is dedicated to Savitri. It was composed by sage Vishwamitra. So please understand, many of the practices um, of the Harappans are even now being followed by us. Many of the practices of the Vedic Aryans are being followed by us. We are not going into the ethical or the moral aspect of it. For example, the love for sons. Even nowadays, we have a love for sons. Among traditional families, things are changing for the better. But then, even after two, three daughters, somewhere the parents feel, among some families, that they would have been more luckier if they also had a son. So that feeling is there to carry on the lineage or whatever it is. But things are changing now. So that is a Vedic thinking. They were wanting sons for a different purpose that has got distorted. So even now, there's a desire for sons. It's a paternalistic society, like the Vedic society was. We worship many gods even now, like the way our Vedic Aryans used to worship. But then they have been reduced to Dikpalas, the Ashta Dikpalas, the guardians of the eight directions: Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, etc., Soma, Brihaspati. They have all become the guardians of the eight directions. So how it happened, we'll talk about it when we come to later Vedic period. Even now, homes are performed in houses, in temples to appease the gods uh, for a for a bountiful harvest, for timely rains, for the progress of our family, health, financial health, etc. So all these things are even now followed by us, by among the Hindu community, right? So Aranyani, I put some pictures. I don't know whether Aranyani looked like that, but since this is how Aranyani probably looked like. So this is Aranyani, this is Aditi, the mother of all the gods. So Aditi was the mother of all the gods. Aditi, mother of all gods, right? And then of course we have Savitri, the solar goddess, in whose memory there's the Gayatri Mantra, whose honor rather, the solar goddess, the Gayatri Mantra is sung or chanted. Then there was no theory as regards life after death. We have something called metempsychosis. What is metempsychosis? The belief that souls are reborn in plant, animal, and plant and animal form. So that was not there during this period. The belief that souls are reborn in plant, human, and animal form. So that was not there. And then there is also no concept of the word karma. So concept of karma is also absent in this period, in the Rig Vedic period. Though there is a line which says that a person's conduct in this life influences his next birth. The word karma is not there. Karma means if you do good things in this life, you good things will happen to you. If you do bad things will happen to you. So until a person squares off his karmic debts, he has to take on repeated births on this earth. So the word karma is not mentioned, though there is a word saying that, a line saying that a person's conduct in this life influences his future life. So this is about Rig Vedic religion, right? This is about Rig Vedic religion. Savitri is not the same as Lakshmi, as far as my knowledge goes, Kumar. Savitri, the solar goddess Savitri. So these are all various forms of Parvati, Lakshmi, Durga, Kali, Saraswati, Savitri. They're all supposedly originated from Parvati, the wife of Shiva. So, so those things I would not know. Is Savitri same as Lakshmi? Um, okay, so this is about Vedic period, Rig Vedic period, or early Vedic period. Are you clear? Do you want any clarification? Can I move on to the later Vedic period? Do you want any clarification? Any questions asked? Don't ask any questions. Hello, all of you. Kumar says no. What about others? All clear? Can we move on? Okay, Apurva, Satyanarayana. Okay. Okay, let us come to the later Vedic period. Hemalata says clear. Okay, good. Thank you. So let us come to the later Vedic period. Again, I go back to the map here. You can see this. Sapta Sindhu region. You can see here, we saw this. Aryans were living for 500 years in the Sapta Sindhu region, the land of 7 rivers, that is the Indus, the 5 eastern tributaries, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, Satluj, and Saraswati. That is called Sapta Sindhu region. They were living here for 500 years. What happened in these 500 years? What happened in these 500 years? You see, in these 500 years, the population of the Aryans increased. So the population of the Aryans increased. The population of their cattle also increased. And the Sapta Sindhu region was not able to sustain the growing population of the Aryans and their cattle. And by 1000 BC, understand this, that is by the end of the Rig Vedic period, that is by 1000 BC, the Aryans had discovered iron. So they had come to have the knowledge of iron. So what they did is, at the end of 500 years, so they were living in the Sapta Sindhu region for how many years? 500 years. That is from 1500 to 1000 BC, isn't it? That makes it 500 years. So at the end of 1000 BC, that is by the end of the by the end of the Rig Vedic period, the Aryans had come to have the knowledge of iron. So what did they do? They entered a thickly forested area called the Ganga Yamuna Basin, the Indo-Gangetic Basin. So this is, you can see here, I put lines like this. This is a thickly forested area, right? So what they did is they took the help of Agni. They took the help of fire or Agni. So they burned down patches of the forest. They set fire to patches of the forest. So the forest burned down. And with those iron axes and implements, they cut down the forest and made it fit for agriculture. Now we have some shlokas in the Rig Vedic in the later Vedic literature which talks about this. Is Shatapada Brahmana, one of the books called Shatapada Brahmana, tells that a prince called Vaidika Madhava left the Saraswati region and entered the Gandak basin, the Sadinara region, and he was helped in this migration by the god Agni. So the interpretation given by historians is that Agni or fire was used to burn down patches of the forest and make it fit for agriculture. So here during the later Vedic period, we have agriculture becoming the main occupation. Now, why is it called later Vedic period as opposed to Rig Vedic period or early Vedic period? We have the other part of the Vedic literature, minus the Rig Veda. We have the other books, Samaved, Yajurved, Atharvaved, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, Dharma Shastras, or Smritis, epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata. All these together are known as later Vedic literature. These books are called later Vedic literature. And these are the books which give information about the next 500 years of the life of the Aryans. So 1500 to 1000, they lived in the Sapta Sindhu region. From 1000 to 600 BC, these 400 years, they lived in the Indo-Gangetic basin, right? And we have the other part of the Vedic literature. You can see here on your screen the later Vedic textbooks like Samaved, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, Brahmanas, a class of books called Brahmanas. These are books called Brahmanas, not the Brahmana Varna. Aranyakas, then Upanishads, Dharmashastras. Dharmashastras are the law books. Law books are also called Smritis, like Manava Dharma Shastra or Manu Dharma Shastra, Yagnavalkya Smriti, Narada Smriti, Brihaspati Smriti. So these Dharma Shastras or Smritis also give information about the later Vedic period. Then epics like Ramayana, Mahabharata, all these together are called later Vedic texts, and they were composed in the Upper Gangetic region by the Aryans. So this is called later Vedic period because the later Vedic literature gives information about this period. And this later Vedic period is also called PGW iron phase. You can see here PGW iron phase. Painted grey ware is the common pottery for the Vedic period, both the early Vedic period and the later Vedic period. But then in the early Vedic period or Rig Vedic period, Aryans had no knowledge of iron. In the later Vedic period, they had knowledge of iron. Therefore, later Vedic period is called PGW iron phase. And iron is called Shama Ayas. For the first time in the Yajurveda, we have the word Shama Ayas. Ayas means copper, right? You know this. Ayas means copper and bronze. Shama means dark copper, referring to iron. Shama Ayas, referring to iron. Are you there with me? So here, agriculture becomes the main occupation of the Aryans in the later Vedic period. And the later Vedic literature gives information about this period and therefore called later Vedic period. So what do we know about the geography of the later Vedic Aryans? You can see here, geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans. What was their political structure like during this period? What are the changes in the society, economy, religion? So we will discuss this. All this information we have deduced rather from the later Vedic textbooks. Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharva Veda, epics, Dharmashastras, etc. So let us come to the later Vedic period. First of all, geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans. You can see here the book Shatapatha Brahmana tells us that a tribe living in the Saraswati region, led by the Prince Vaidhaga Madhava, left that region and they migrated to the Gandak basin, that is the Sadhana region, and they were helped by god Agni. So from that, historians tell that probably they use Agni or fire to burn down patches of the forest and engage in agriculture and expand towards the Indo-Gangetic basin. So a reference to Agni indicates that they cleared the forest by the aid of fire. And we have this book called Aitaraya Brahmana. Aitaraya Brahmana, this is the name of a book. It tells us that it talks about the entire geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans. North India came to be called Aryavarta. Aryavarta, that is that region from Himalayas to Vindhyas. Aryavarta, North India, Himalayas to Vindhyas. So North India was called Aryavarta in the later Vedic literature. Central India came to be called Madhya Desha, and South India was called Dakshinapata. So Aryavarta, Madhya Desha, Dakshinapata. In the later Vedic books, we also have reference to the three oceans, the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, and the Indian Ocean. So earlier, the word Samudra in the Rig Vedic period meant confluence of rivers. Now, they had knowledge of the oceans. So how come they have been mentioned in the later Vedic literature? Obviously, because the Aryans were no more confined to the Sapta Sindhu region. They had spread far and wide. They had come to have the knowledge of the entire country. They knew about even the Thar Desert, the desert in Rajasthan. They knew about the three oceans. They knew about the Ganga, and there are references to many tribes in the south of the Vindhyas also. So the entire country was known to the later Vedic Aryans by this time. Are you there with me? This is the geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans. Geographical knowledge of later Vedic Aryans. Clear? Yes. Okay. Then let us come to the other aspects. Hemalata is asking, sir, are we Aryans? I told you Aryan refers to a group of languages, people who speak a language and a group of languages, just as the word Dravidian refers to people who speak a group of languages. So the word Aryan and Dravidian have a linguistic connotation. They don't have any racial connotation, right? Hemalata. So it refers to language, not race. Okay. Now let us come to later Vedic polity. Now look here, understand this part. Later Vedic polity, interesting. Later Vedic polity. Later Vedic polity. Now, um, Eurasians, a mixture of a few races. Kumar, you can call them as Eurasians. So, in the Harappan civilization, we had four races, isn't it? Mediterranean, Proto-Australoid, Mongoloid, Alpinoid, and there was free racial mixture amongst the Harappans. Aryans came from supposedly outside India. And they brought the Vedic culture along with them. So you can call them as maybe Eurasians, mixture of Europe and Asians also. And here you have intermixing of many races, a conglomeration of many races mixed up, and then we are all the descendants of that. So that would not come under my you know zone. Maybe you can ask the anthropology teacher what race we belong to. In many races, we're a mixture of many races. So we'll come back here later. Vedic polity. So what happened? What was the main occupation now in the later Vedic period? Can you answer that? What was the main occupation of the Aryans in the later Vedic period? Agriculture. Very good, Kumar. Jia. So look here, farming. Shilpa says farming. You're right. Now look here. Imagine this. Imagine this. Understand this. It's very simple. This is a forest. Whatever circle I have drawn you, imagine this is the boundary of a forest. Now, people, let us say there is a person called A. So what A does is he will clear this forest, this part of the forest, and he'll make it his own. He and his family members, relations will set fire to the forest. They'll burn down that patch of the forest. They'll make it fit for agriculture with the help of iron axes, implements, iron plows. They'll plow the land and they'll make it fit for agriculture. So this property belongs to A. Then neighboring area, you have this B. No, this is another fellow called B. This is B's property. Then this is let us say C's property. C's property. This is D's property. Okay, so this is D's property, and so on and so forth. So everybody here have their own lands. Okay, D, E, F, G, H, etc. So they're all living in one territory. When you engage in agriculture, what happens? You have to stay in one place and do agriculture, engage in agriculture. So obviously, we have the concept of Janapada coming into existence. Janapada. Janapada means territory, okay, or territorial state. Territorial state. The concept of a territory comes into existence. Now, there is so and the main source of main income, main source of main economy was agriculture. So agriculture was agriculture was the main source of income for the people. Okay, so it was an agrarian economy. People were dependent on agriculture, and you have the concept of a state or a territory coming into existence. Janapada means territory. Territory. So there were no more nomads during this period because they were engaging in agriculture. And once they took to agriculture, this brought about a revolution in the life of the Aryans. What about the polity, later Vedic polity? What happened to the Rajan? Earlier, if you remember, the Rajan was elected. and they were nomads. Earlier Aryans were nomads going from one place to another place. There were four assemblies which curtailed the powers of the Rajan, that is the Sabha, Samiti, Vidhata, Gana. The Rajan prayed to gods for Praja Pashudana. His duty was to protect the tribe and its cattle wealth. Now, you have the Aryans living in a fixed territory. Agriculture was the main occupation. The concept of private property had come into existence. Understand this? The concept of a private property had come into existence. So, whoever clears the forest and makes it fit for agriculture automatically becomes the owner of that plot of land. So, we have seen that A, B, C, D, E, etc. have done the same. They have cleared the patches of the forest and made it fit for agriculture. So, this is A's property. B's is this. B's property is this. Similarly, C's is this, and so on and so forth. Now, and they are all living in one fixed territory. They're all living in this territory. So when there's an agriculture, when agriculture is the main occupation, population increased. Understand this, population increased. More mouths could be fed, therefore population increased. And there is tremendous power increase in the powers of the tribal chief. Now, the Rajan was not just a elected leader; he was a hereditary ruler of a particular territory. So you have tribal polity, that is chiefdom. Chiefdom gave place to kingdom. So kingdoms were born. Kingdoms were born. So chiefdom gave place to kingdom, and the king, the Rajan, is no more elected. It is hereditary. Kingship became hereditary. So after the king dies, his son becomes the next king. So kingship became hereditary. What happened to the four assemblies? Sabha, Samiti, understand some Sabha, Samiti, Vidhata, and Gana. So if you remember, Sabha was a council of tribal elders. Now the character of the Sabha changes. Sabha's character changes to that of a cabinet. So the Raja, now the king, who's all powerful now, can choose who should advise him. So it becomes like a kitchen cabinet of the President of America, a kitchen cabinet of the President of America, the Sabha. The Sabha's character changes to that of a cabinet. Samiti disappears. Vidhata disappears, and Gana disappears. What was the duty of the Samiti? To elect the Rajan. Now there's no more election of the Rajan. So Samiti disappears. Vidhata disappears. Gana disappears. Now you have a group of Brahmins who advise the king in running the administration of the kingdom. That is called Parisha. They were called Parisha. So Parisha was a group of Brahmins who advised the king. So king's advisors came to be called Parisha. Now we have bureaucracy expanding. Bureaucracy expands during this period. Earlier, the king was assisted by the Purohita, the Senapati, the Jivagriba, the Spasa, the Duta, etc. Now we have 12 ministers. 12 ministers who assist the king in the discharge of his duties. Ministers are called Ratnins. Understand this? Ministers are called Ratnins. And 12 is in Sanskrit Dvadasha. Dvadasha, like Dvadasha Jyotirlinga, Dvadasha Ratnins. 12 Ratnins, 12 ministers assist the king in the discharge of his duties. So during this period, population increased, agriculture became the main occupation. That is the reason why the population increased. People were all living in one place. The concept of a territory comes into existence. We have the birth of early states, the birth of incipient states. Incipient means early. Birth of incipient states, right? And the king began to impose taxes on his people. So earlier, what was the main source of income for the king? Bali and war booty, voluntary offering called Bali and war booty. Now you have a regular taxation machinery. The king collected taxes, and the earliest example of tax in India is Bhaga. Bhaga is the king's share. King's share, minimum 1/10, maximum 1/6. 1/10 to 1/6. So the minimum share was 1/10. That was the king share, 1/10. So out of 100 bags of paddy, if a farmer has grown 100 bags of paddy, 10 should be given away to the king. And the king was assisted by ministers who are 12 in number. On your screen, if you see this, these are the 12 ministers who assisted the king in the discharge of his duties. On your screen. So you have Sangrahitri, Bhaga Duga. First one is Bhaga Duga. Bhaga Duga. Bhaga Duga. That is collector of taxes. Collector of taxes. Tax collector. Bhaga Duga. Then we have the Sangrahitri, treasurer. Dakshata was the chamberlain in charge of royal household. Sthapati was the governor or chief justice. Vakkabhumika, inspector of cow pens. Right? Govikartana, keeper of games and forests. Games is hunting, keeper of games, hunting and forests. Purapati was in charge of forts and cities. Palagala, messenger. Akshavapa, accountant. Earlier he was a dice thrower. Mahishi was the chief queen. Sutta was the court minstrel, that is chronicler, who recorded important events of that period. Gramani was the village in charge. These are the 12 ministers who assisted the king in the discharge of his duties, right? That is called, so you have a regular bureaucracy coming into existence. Did the king have a standing army during this period? No. The king had no standing army. I'll use another page. So king had no standing army during this period. Also, no standing army. He was dependent on tribal levies. So various tribes furnished troops to the king when the king went to war. So he did not have any standing army where he paid regular salaries to his soldiers and officers. So he was dependent on tribal levies. So we have some of the early kingdoms which came into existence during this period. So what are the names of some of these early kingdoms? We have, of course, the Kuru kingdom, the Panchala, Vatsa, Chedi, Magadha, Malla, etc. So we have some early kingdoms which came into existence during the later Vedic period. What is the reason for the birth of kingdoms? Understand this. What is the reason for the birth of kingdoms? Why did kingdoms arise in the later Vedic period? Number one is amalgamation of tribes. Number one is amalgamation of tribes. For example, who were the two most important Aryan tribes in the Rigvedic period? Bharatas and Purus, isn't it? Bharatas and Purus. They joined together to form Kurus. Okay, so Bharatas, for example, let us say Bharata tribe had 10,000 people and Puru tribe had, let us say, 8,000 people population. I'm just giving you a hypothetical example. So Kuru kingdom, when Bharatas and Purus merged, we have a new kingdom which was born, Kuru kingdom, which had 18,000 people. Similarly, we have the another example I can give you. Five tribes joined together to form the Panchala tribe. Okay, Krivi, Keshin, Somaka. Like that, there are five tribes. They joined together to form the Panchala. Panchala is five. Panchala tribe. Now later what happened is Kuru and Panchala joined together. Kuru and Panchala tribe joined together to form a new kingdom, Kuru Panchala kingdom. KP, right? KP kingdom, Kuru Panchala kingdom. So the main reason for the birth of kingdoms was amalgamation of tribes, two or more tribes coming together and forming a kingdom. And the second reason for the birth of kingdoms is settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin. Settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin. Settled life in the Ganga-Yamuna basin. That is Ganga-Yamuna basin, Indo-Gangetic basin. So it was a thickly forested area. The forests were cut down with the help of iron axes. Patches of the forest were burned down and made fit for agriculture. so they could reap a bountiful harvest. The kings could reap a bountiful harvest. They could grow 2 to 3 crops in a year, the farmers there. And after every harvest, the king will impose taxes on the farmers. And with those taxes, he can maintain a larger bureaucracy, pay his officers and soldiers salaries, have a larger bureaucracy, and also a larger army. So, two main reasons for the birth of kingdoms. One is amalgamation of tribes, and the second is settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin, right? And the kings of this period took a number of titles. Understand this? They took a number of titles. For example, the North Indian king took the title of Virat. South Indian king took the title of Bhoja. Eastern Indian king took the title of Samrat. And the kings of Western India took the title of Suvrat or Surat or Swarat. So they took a number of titles, Suvrat or Swarat. And then we have the Purohit who performed many sacrifices to enhance the power of the king. The Purohita performed many sacrifices to enhance the power of the king. What are the sacrifices the Purohit performed? We have the Ashwamedha sacrifice. Ashwamedha. Number 2, Rajasuya. Rajasuya sacrifice. Number 3, Vajapeya. And number 4, Hiranyagarbha. So Ashwamedha, Rajasuya, Vajapeya, and Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha sacrifice. Now, what is Ashwamedha sacrifice? Let's say there's a king called A. Understand this? Very interesting. Let's say there's a king called A. He wants to perform an Ashwamedha sacrifice. So what will he do? He will let loose a horse. So imagine this is the horse. Okay, this is the horse. This is the horse. Okay, so he let loose this horse. And this horse will go to the neighboring kingdom. Let us say there's a kingdom called B here. There's another kingdom called C here. Another kingdom called D here. So this horse, along with a few soldiers, let us say, will enter the territory of B. And let's say this king called B will order that horse to be tied up. So if he orders his soldiers to tie up that horse, which means to say he's challenging King A for war. So A and B will fight a war. And let us say A defeats B. So B's territory will come under the control of A. Okay, now let us say this horse enters the territory of D. It enters the territory of D, and the king D will not order his soldiers to tie up the horse. That means he has already submitted before King A. He has accepted King A as his overlord. And he has no objection for King A performing the Ashwamedha sacrifice. So this will go on for about a year. Whichever king orders the horse to be tied up, that means there'll be a war between King A and the other king. And if some other king doesn't allow the horse to be tied up, that means he's already accepted King A as his overlord. At the end of 1 year, this horse will be sacrificed. This is called Ashwamedha sacrifice, horse sacrifice. Are you there with me? Hello, Ashwamedha sacrifice, clear? You know that. You must have seen it in TV serials, Ramayana, Mahabharata serial, or some old movie, okay, or serials like Ramayana, Mahabharata serials. Okay, this is Ashwamedha sacrifice. Then what is Rajasuya? Rajasuya is literally the king's consecration ceremony. That is, the king is anointed as Chakravarti, as king. So he's crowned. That is the crowning ceremony. So that is called consecration. So he's consecrated as king. And we have the other princes. They have to come and participate in this consecration ceremony of the king. So this is for the king to claim divinity. So by performing the Rajasuya sacrifice, he claims divinity. Okay. So this is called royal consecration ceremony, where all the other princes are also supposed to come and participate and accept this king as their overlord. So this is for the king to claim the status of divinity. Then we have Vajapeya. Vajapeya literally means drink of strength. Drink of strength. Vajapeya. It was generally performed by a middle-aged king. Understand this. It was generally performed by a middle-aged king. And the most important competition in this particular Vajpaya sacrifice was chariot race. Chariot race, where the king's chariot is made to win. So there are many competitions which will take place. Let us say there's a king called A. He's a middle-aged man. He's about, let us say, 40, 45 years old. Oh, he's middle-aged, okay? But then he wants to show his people, his subjects, that though he's getting old, he's still middle-aged, but though he's old, he's middle-aged, he still has the strength to safeguard them and protect the kingdom. So competitions will be arranged, like for example, wrestling competition, chariot race, archery, etc., etc. And the king will also participate in these competitions, right? So let's say there's a huge wrestler, okay, somebody like Great Khali. So the king, this middle-aged king called A, has already bribed him, or has already told that huge wrestler to lose. So in front, like in WWE, they act as if they're hitting, but no punch is actually hit, right? So everybody feel it is real. So the competition starts in front of the public. Everybody is watching the king, the puny king, fighting against this huge wrestler. And in one part of the wrestling competition or a boxing competition, the king gives him a punch, gives that fellow a punch, and that fellow falls down. And though he can get up and fight easily, he will not get up because the king has told him you not to get up. He already bribed him and made him happy. So everybody will feel who are seeing this, who's a witness to this competition, that though their king is middle aged, he's still strong enough to defend them. Right. So this is called Vajpaya. Similarly, chariot race will take place. The king is also on his chariot, and then there are other people who are trying to defeat the king. And ultimately, it is the king's chariot which wins. And others slow down or they will lose purposely because they want the king to win and the king has bribed them. So this is Vajpaya. This is after this sacrifice, the king took the title of Samrat. He takes the title of Samrat, Vajpaya. So you see, politicians have fooled us from the beginning, from the later Vedic period onwards. Yeah, Jo Jita Vahi Sikandar, Hemalata. Then Hiranyagarbha sacrifice. What is Hiranyagarbha? Hiranyagarbha is to commemorate a victory, to celebrate a victory. So once a king defeats another king, to celebrate that victory, you have the Hiranyagarbha sacrifice performed. Now, are you there with me? Are you clear with these four sacrifices? Who performed these sacrifices? Did you understand these sacrifices? I hope it is interesting. Afternoon time is a dull time to 2:45. Okay, great. So, all of you, okay, well, now look here. The Purohita, the Brahmana, was the one who performed these sacrifices. And since he had the knowledge of the Vedas, the Shastras, the Upanishads, etc., the Brahmana began to claim superiority over the Kshatriya also. So the Brahmana, since he had the knowledge of all the Shastras, Vedas, began to claim superiority over the Kshatriyas. And this was not liked by the Kshatriyas. And later we have a Kshatriya backlash against the Brahminical domination. We have Buddha and Mahavira. They were both Kshatriya princes. They opposed the domination of the Brahmins in the society. So when I come to Buddhism, Jainism chapter as part of art and culture, I'll talk about it. So remember that the Brahmana began to claim, supremacy over the other members, other Brahmanas, other sections of Brahmanas. There were 16 classes of priests during this period. 16 classes of priests were there. And among them, the Brahmana was one of them. But gradually, the Brahmana began to claim superiority over the other classes of priests. Right. So this is about later Vedic polity. We have some kingdoms which were ruled by philosopher kings. There were some kingdoms which were ruled by philosopher kings. What is the meaning of that? These kings were not only great warriors, but they themselves were very, very scholarly people. They knew a lot of subjects. They were well read, well informed, rationalists, great thinkers, and they patronized a number of scholars. So I have put a chart for your convenience, where you have the king, which kingdom he ruled, and which scholar he patronized. That could be a potential question. Till now, they have not asked, but it could be a potential question. You can see here on your screen. These are the philosopher kings on your screen. These are the philosopher kings, right? For example, Mithila, where Janaka was the king. Janaka, Sita's father, Sita Mata uh, of Ramayana fame. So her father was Janaka, and he ruled Mithila, and the scholar Janaka, King Janaka patronized was Yagnavalkya. Then Kashi, ruled by Ajatashatru, and he patronized Balaki Gargeya. Kekaya was the name of the kingdom, ruled by Ashwapati, and he patronized Udalaka Aruni. And Panchala kingdom, ruled by Pravahana Jaivali, who's patronized Ketu Arunaya. So these are the philosophers patronized by these philosopher kings. So I have put this chart. This is later Vedic polity for you. So let us look at the this particular topic on your PPTs, whatever I have explained just now. So later Vedic polity, popular assemblies lost their importance. Now one more thing I forgot to mention. Apart from monarchies, we have also republics during this period. So, sorry, my goodness, undo. So here, yeah. So we have republics during this period. Some republics. What is a republic? Where the king was elected. So the population of a republic was less. Therefore, the king was elected by the people. So here in a republic, we have a parliament. There was a parliament or a Santhagara. It was called Santhagara. This Santhagara took care of the affairs of the republic. It assisted the king in the discharge of his duties. The king was elected in such republics. They are called Ganarajyas. Republics are called Ganarajyas. So they were exceptions than the rule. Mostly you have monarchies where every power was in the hands of the king. All the powers were in the hands of the king. Whereas in a republic, you have the king being elected and assisted by a Santagara or a Gana Parishad, which was a parliament, right? So we'll come back here. Later Vedic polity. Popular assemblies lost their importance, like Sabha, Samiti, Vidata Gana. The character of the Sabha changes to that of a cabinet. I told you. So chiefdom gave place to kingdom. Tribal polity was replaced by monarchical polity. Kingship became hereditary. Jana gave place to Janapada. So Jana was a tribe. In place of tribe, we have Janapada. That is, concept of a territorial state emerges. Territory became more important than cattle during this period. Okay. Then Vidata completely disappeared. I told you Vidata disappeared. The Samiti disappeared. The Gana disappeared. The character of the Sabha changed to that of a cabinet. Women were no longer permitted to attend assemblies. So you have drastic decline in the position of the women. I'll come to that in some time. Later Vedic society will talk about it. Just hold on. So women were no longer permitted to attend the assemblies. Um, um, then we have the word Rashtra used for the first time during this period, indicating territory. So you have a Janapada or a Rashtra, both indicate territory, right? And the kings performed various sacrifices like Rajasuya, Ashwamedha, Vajapeya. Collection of taxes became common. The king did not possess a standing army even during this period. We have the Kurus occupying Kurukshetra. So two tribes came together, that is Bharatas and Kurus, and they formed the Kuru kingdom. Just hold on, you can see here. What is the reason for the formation of states? Janapada. Number one, settled life in the Indo-Gangetic basin. Number two, amalgamation of tribes, when two or more tribes came together. For example, Purus and Bharatas formed Kurus. They joined to form Kuru. Similarly, five tribes came together to form the Panchala tribe. You don't need to remember the names of these tribes. Turvasa, Sirinjaya, Krivi, Keshin, Somoka. So five of them came together to form the Panchala tribe. So later you have Kuru Panchala joining together, leading to the Kuru Panchala kingdom. So you can go back here, you see here, Kurus occupied Kurukshetra, that is Delhi and upper portion of Doab. Kurus joined Panchala tribe later. So Kuru Panchala set up their capital at Hastinapur, and then later they shifted to Kaushambi after the floods of Hastinapur. Panchala kingdom was famous for philosopher kings. Okay, right. So here you see civilization was slowly spreading from the west towards the east. So like this, civilization was spreading from the west towards the east, like this, right? So this is Haryana, Punjab, Western UP, Eastern UP, right? So like that. Then Northern Bihar, like that, right? So Koshala, for example, here Koshala, Videha. So civilization was spreading from the west towards the east, right? Like that. So um, some of the early kingdoms in the later Vedic period, as you can see on your screen: Kuru kingdom, capital Asandivant, and later Hastinapur. Indraprastha was an important city in this kingdom. What was the dynasty which ruled the Kuru kingdom? Paurava dynasty. Paurava dynasty. So Kuru kingdom was formed after the amalgamation of Bharatas and Purus. Similarly, we have the kingdom of Magadha, whose capital was Girivraja or Rajagriha. So early dynasty which ruled Magadha was the Bharadvaja dynasty, Bharadvaja dynasty. Later we have the Haryanka dynasty who came to power. We'll talk about Haryanka dynasty when we come to pre-Maurya period. So Kuru was one kingdom, Magadha was another kingdom. Third is Koshala, which was ruled by the Ikshvaku dynasty with capital Ayodhya. Gandhara, Kamboja in northwest portions of India. Vidarbha, present-day Maharashtra. Matsya, Rajasthan, with capital Viratanagara, that is Jaipur. What we now call Jaipur, Pink City, was called Viratanagara, right? And then I told you there were some kingdoms ruled by philosopher kings like Mithila under Janaka, who patronized Yagnavalkya, etc. This is about later Vedic polity. So democracy was replaced by autocracy. We have kings taking up titles. I told you Virat, Bhoja, Samrat, and Suvrat. The various titles. Rituals greatly enhance the powers of the king. The earliest text was Bhaga, king's share. So kings did not have a maintenance. So here, the king, even in the later Vedic period, had to depend on tribal levies. So he was dependent on tribal levies, but the bureaucracy had increased to a large extent, and he had to pay salaries to his officers and soldiers. So we have a regular taxation collection machinery, tax collecting machinery. Bhaga was the king's share, 1/10 to 1/16, 1/6, 1/10 to 1/6, right? Then these are the 12 ministers, Dwadasha Ratnins, Dwadasha Ratnins. Dwadasha is 12, Ratnins are ministers. They assist the king in the discharge of his duties. So these are the ministers who assisted the king, right? So Swarajya, Vairajya were the republics of the later Vedic period, and in monarchies, Samitis were abolished. Sabha had nominated members and became a royal court. This is about later Vedic polity, right? So can we go for a break now? Are you clear, all of you? Yeah. So this screen is slanting, so I find it difficult to write, but I'm trying my best, with whatever handwriting I have, Syed. So can we go for a break? We meet at 2:40, 40 minutes lunch break. So 40 minutes lunch break. We meet at 3:40 p.m. We meet again at 3:40 p.m. So you carry on. I will tell them Hiranyagarbha is to celebrate a victory. Hiranyagarbha, Hemalata is to celebrate a victory. Yeah, that's how it was. Agriculture was a supplementary activity, Kumar. In the Rig Vedic period, main occupation was pastoralism. And we have references to a few agricultural implements and tools. From that, we come to know that agriculture was a supplementary activity. It was not that they did not do agriculture. They grew yawa, wheat and barley was grown, but on a very small scale. They were basically pastoralists. Where Harappans, it was an agrarian economy. You're right, Kumar. They were not the same. Yeah, obviously. And the Harappans were different and the Vedic Aryans were different. I told you, our Harappans used to worship other gods. Aryans were nature worshippers. I will inform the team. So you're saying that the Vedic period chapter is missing? It may be there, it may not be in order. Just check it up properly. It may be there. Why do you say that? It would have been uploaded. Harappans also worship nature. No, Kumar. Harappans did not worship nature. They worshipped, gods like Pashupati Mahadeva. They gave a form to their gods, isn't it? They worship unicorn. They worship the people tree. They worship male and female sexual organs. They worship mother goddess. Had given them a form, whereas the Aryans were worshipping nature gods, the formless gods, Indra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna. So it was in their imagination that these gods looked like that. So they composed shlokas like Agni, Vayu, Varuna, Indra, Agni, Nasatyas, Rudra, etc. They worshipped all these gods. So they were nature worshippers. Okay, we'll go for a break now, lunch break, 3 to 3:40. We'll meet sharp at 3:40 and continue this session. 3:40 to 5:40, 2 hours. And then 5:40 to 6 o'clock is a 20 minutes break. And 6 to 8, again, we go for 2 hours. So long day. So you eat something and take a quick nap and come back by 3:40.